Alright, let's see. Let's see if we are working here. There's no real easy way to tell. Yeah, I guess it's gonna automatically go to the suspended prologue scene, won't it? It is, but okay, that's a bad ratio. Hang on. Why is that aspect ratio so weird? Okay. I need to... that'd be why. I need to adjust. This is all set up for when I still had a different computer. So we have to adjust all this. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. Okay, lock it over there. Live troubleshooting. And like that. That should be display good. So relock that. Chat box now. I mean, there's not much I can really do about that one there. So let's go back to FSN. Does it look better? Okay, it looks a lot better now. Aspect ratio is not at all off. We have my audio coming through. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Okay, my audio is coming through. I have no idea if game audio is coming through because this is a completely silent motion. But, we'll run off that now and I will check here in a little bit. So, hello, people of the internet. It is I, Soul Rack Dragon here, with Fate Stay Night Remastered, where, as the stream title says, we are going back to where it all began, the start of the Fate franchise itself. It's only released, I believe, 2 days ago, it was. It was a buggy mess when it released 2 days ago, but it should be better now. If not, I did read a fix that I can do that should help out, but we'll approach that if it comes to it. But for now, I did launch it once before just to see if there's like an actual title screen, but apparently not. There was a prologue scene that as soon as it started showing, I exited out of it. So we're going to resume from the suspended prologue scene. The tip of the sword was like a flash of lightning, a spearhead thrust to skewer the heart. Even attempting to evade it was pointless. It was but a flash, too swift for the human eye to follow. And yet, moonlight swept in to save me from the strike that threatened to end me. The sound was beautiful, like the tolling of a bell. No, truth be told, the sound hung over me, heavier than an iron weight. This beauty had little to do with aesthetics. The stark armor wrapped around her was like the frozen night itself. The ringing was not in itself pleasant. It was the sound of steel. I'm going to stop talking here for a minute just so I can see if the gameplay audio is coming through. Okay, does indeed sound like the gameplay audio is coming through. It's kind of faint, but is what it is. I do like this audio, this sound though, the song though. Yeah. But the night herself was beautiful enough to make it into the chiming of a bell. I ask of you, are you my master? The lines that started it all. Her voice resonated in the darkness. I have come in response to your summons. Henceforth, my blade is with you, and your fate with me. Our pact is now sealed. Indeed, the pact was sealed, just as she chose to serve me. I'm sure in that moment that I swore to save her. The moonlight cut through the darkness. As if in imitation of the night, the storehouse regained its former calm. Time had stopped. The vision before me had lasted less than a second. Be that as it may, I will always remember the sight of her as clearly as if it were still happening now, even if I fall into the depths of hell. The faint slant of her profile, her serene, divinely green eyes. For a moment, time stopped, and her silhouette, draped in blue, swayed in the wind. I was struck by the pale blue glow. Her hair, as fine as golden thread, was bathed in moonlight. Fate. This happened 10 years ago. I see someone who takes me back. He's tall, with chiseled features. I've never known him to crack a joke. He ruffles my hair affectionately. No, that's not what this is. It's more like he's grasping my head and working it like a stubborn jar lid. Maybe he doesn't know how to control his strength. That's only to be expected. It's the first time he's ever done something like this. It's time for me to leave. You know what to do next. I answered yes, in a somber voice. He nodded once, withdrew his hand, and stood up. That's all. Had I known this would be the last time we would ever see each other, I would have done my best to make him laugh with the perfect joke. I've been practicing punchlines in private, in the hopes of finally seeing a smile crack that stony face. If I have one regret, it's that I never got to tell him any of my jokes. I have honestly no idea who this cutscene is about. Oh, it's written. Get the association in your debt before you become an adult. Any decisions after that, I leave up to you. I'm sure you'll manage on your own. So he said, but I bet he was worried about me. He told me about our family's heirloom jewels, the gems passed down to us from our Grand Master, and how to manage the underground workshop. It was a rapid-fire course of subjects he'd never taught me before. Even as a child, I realized that he would probably never come home again. There was a war. Not a war between countries, but between people. But in this war, there were only 7 combatants. It might not have seemed fitting to call it a war, but having mages involved changes things. 7 mages from different factions competed, but I wasn't sure why. They killed each other using methods I didn't really understand. One of them was the man in front of me. It meant that he would kill and eventually be killed. I'm sure he felt the ticking of his life's clock even more keenly than I did. Rin. Before long, the Holy Grail will appear. It is the duty of the Tosakas to obtain it, but above all, it is a path that we are destined to walk as mages. And with that, he ruffled my hair one last time and left. I never saw him again. My father/teacher was one of the masters who participated in the Holy Grail War. He never came home. Safe travels, Father. I bid him farewell, as a well-behaved daughter should. I knew I was on the verge of tears, but I didn't let it show. I loved him. He was a great father and an even greater mage. Mages are stubborn people. As far as I knew, there wasn't a more upstanding man in the whole world. As my instructor, he trained me. As my father, he loved me. So I decided I'd accept the things he left for me and choose my own path. Rin, before long, the Holy Grail will appear. It is the duty of the Tosakas to obtain it, but above all, it is a path we are destined to walk as mages. In the end, his final words for me were given as a mage, not a father. That's the moment I made up my mind. Alright, I guess I'd better do everything I can to become a worthy mage. It was only natural for an apprentice to live up to her master's hopes. That's how I, Rin Tosaka, grew up after experiencing life's twists and turns. It's been 10 years since my father went off to the war. I wouldn't say I've been looking forward to this day, but I'm a bit on edge. That goes without saying. After all, the moment which was burned into my memory 10 years ago will soon be upon me again. (1:31) January 31st. So we are starting off as Rin. I hear something. Ring, ring. Shut up. Stop. The noise doesn't stop. It's such an infernal racket. It's almost as if it was here to avenge my father. No, I was up late. Just a little longer. Oh, it should just let me sleep a bit more. In fact, it should. I stayed up to the early hours deciphering my father's will, and I used a hell of a lot of magical energy to do it. I'm totally exhausted, body and mind. Good grief. Cut me some slack, would ya? Ring, 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 ring. The alarm clock is deaf to my complaints. What kind of machine makes a noise that seems like its sole purpose is to remind you that you're late? Wait, I can't be late. True, but there's a time and place for everything. No matter how much of an overachiever I am, I should try to make it to school, at least on time, at least for today. If only slightly. Alright, I set my alarm 30 minutes early, which means I should still be able to sleep another 30. Doesn't that sound off? 30 minutes early. I peer at the alarm clock through sleep-heavy eyelids. Hands point to 7 o'clock on the dot. I usually get up at 6:30, which means I've completely used up my safety margin. Speaking of which, why is my brain so slow in the morning? I glare at the alarm clock for several seconds. I shut off the alarm and climb sluggishly out of bed. Beat sounds. The morning chill bites at me as I cross the hallway and enter the parlor. This is the final 7 a.m. in January. Winters in Fuyuki are relatively warm, but the mornings here are as cold as anywhere. Even at home my breath mists white. It's that much colder without anyone else living here. Heater, heater. I turn on the heater and go wash up. Single living is so inconvenient at times like these. If there was someone else here to wake up before me, then the parlor would already be heated. I wash my face at the sink. I run a brush through my long hair and get dressed. A chilly morning in a frigid bathroom. The only thing to be said for that is that cold water mercilessly beats the sleepiness from me. With a final tug on the ribbon at my collar, I finish getting dressed. All that's left is to have breakfast and go to school. The clock reads just past 7, so my morning rush feels a bit anticlimactic. I don't even need to run then. Of course, I'd never do anything so uncouth as sprinting to school. The Tosaka family motto dictates that we conduct ourselves with confidence and elegance at all times. My ancestors must have been some high and mighty aristocrats if that's what we've taught through the generations. The anachronistic mansion I live in is proof enough of that. Plus, the Tosakas are a line of spellweavers who practice what is known as magecraft. We're not just an old family, we have an admirably storied history. Not that it's anything to brag about. In fact, I literally can't talk about it. Truth is, I'm a mage. Who could I even brag about that to? As the name suggests, magecraft is what most people would see as magic. It sounds like some supernatural woo-woo, and if you'd like to think of it as just wiggling your fingers and saying abracadabra, that's fine too. Just think of us as people who chant weird words and make equally weird stuff happen. That said, we don't fly around on broomsticks, we don't shoot stars out of wands either. We can do things kind of like that, but there's no point, so we don't. We're pretty much heretics who lurk in the shadows of society. We're not allowed to draw attention to ourselves, and anyone who has time for that kind of thing would rather spend it on their research. Ordinary humans might call us magicians, but that would be wrong. In fact, there are only 5 magicians in the whole world. Magicians are what we call people who can do something no one else can. They can accomplish feats beyond the normal means of modern science and perform genuine miracles. Similarly, magic is the label we use for mystics, magical mysteries, that can't be realized with any amount of time or skill. While magecraft, though it looks mysterious, is something anyone can do with enough time and resources. I'm a mage, and the kind of mystics I use are merely magecraft, not true magic. Confusing, I know, but that's how it works. Also, modern civilization doesn't accept the existence of mages. We believe in, manipulate, and study things that can't be measured, which puts us at odds with modern society. Above all, there's no point to any of what we do. You would be so much happier just going off to a normal school and becoming a normal adult than you would studying magecraft. Human technology has accomplished great things. For the last few centuries, magecraft has been playing catch-up to the progress of civilization. Nothing is impossible for humanity anymore. Miracles that could only be realized with magecraft in the distant past have been reduced to common tools and appliances. Even so, magecraft does have its benefits. Just as there are some things only science can accomplish, there remain heights only mystics can reach. If science is racing into the future, then mages are racing into the past. I think the Tosaka Grand Master said that. Whether you're headed into the past or the future, your destination is the same. 0. Or something like that. We can shelve the difficult topics for now. Philosophy is for the elderly. I finish my breakfast and pick up my bag. Alright, gotta bring my pendant. I'm reluctant to take something so valuable to school, but it would be a waste to leave it behind. I mean, this thing's 100 years old. It's by far the most powerful jewel we have. One could even say it's an entirely different level. I obtained the gem after decoding my father's will last night. It's imbued with 10 years' worth of my own magical energy. I've been told that the Tosaka family has heirloom gems passed down since the olden days, and this might be one of them. Tosaka mages specialize in the conversion and flow of power. We channel our magical energy into precious gems whenever we have a spare moment. Simply put, I'm the gun and the jewels are bullets. The other main thing I've inherited from my father is the magical crest engraved into my left arm. This music sounds familiar. It's a lot of, this is the background music for some events and stuff, isn't it? A magic crest is proof that I'm the heir to our lineage. It's like all the techniques of the Tosaka condensed into a tattoo. Can't let my guard down, even if it hasn't started yet. For now, I stow my pendant, my father's keepsake, into a pocket. It's my trump card. There's nothing I can't do with the power stored in there. Fair? It's 7:30. I'd better leave soon if I don't want to be late for school. Lock code 3. Yeah, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that. I weave energy into a brief foreign phrase. As a mage, I can't neglect the security of my home base. That still applies, even if I've never had so much as a single burglar, lost child, or a stray cat wander into my home. Actually, I don't think the neighbors have ever really even come over to say hello. Oh, poor Rin. That's fine with me, but why don't I ever get any stray cats around here? She wants a cat. I look up at the mansion that's been my home for over a decade. Fuyuki is a strange city. I said strange city. One side of the intersection dividing the residential areas filled with old samurai estates, while the other side I'm on has an abundance of mansions built in European style. Apparently a whole bunch of foreign families immigrated here long ago, but I've never seen a single foreigner around. There's even a cemetery for foreigners in Shinto, the new part of the city across the river, but it was built for the generation that immigrated here. Maybe Japan just didn't suit them. Make a mental note to ask the priest about it the next time I visit the church. He's nothing if not full of boring trivia, for sure. Oh, something feels off as soon as I step outside. That's weird, it's quieter than I thought. There's no trace of the typical morning bustle. At 7:30 in the morning, there would normally be students and workers on their daily commute. I guess it's just one of those days. Maybe everyone slept in. It's unusually cold today, so everyone must be snuggled up in bed. Still, though, even if that were true, it's strange that there isn't a single student on the street. At this time of day, you'd expect to see at least a school uniform or two. And yet, from where I'm standing at the school gate, it's almost like morning club activities are just starting up. Which can only mean... Oh, Tosaka, you're awfully early today. I have no idea who this is. I knew it. With a light sigh, I turned to face the student who called out to me. Morning sure is cold today. The girl who dresses me so casually is Ayoko Mitsuzuri. She's my classmate in 2A and has quite a history. Morning, Mitsuzuri. And sorry for the weird question, but do you know what time it is? It's not even 7 yet. You still asleep or something? She waves her hand in front of my face as if to ask if anybody's home. Ayoko is one of my few friends, and she knows I'm not a morning person. She probably figured out by now that I'm still not completely with it. The clocks at home are an hour ahead. All of them, apparently. I thought it was just my alarm clock, but the grandfather clock was off too. What's going on here? Father must have set the clocks to go haywire once I took the pendant out of the underground cellar. Tosaka. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. Are you on your way to a morning practice, Mitsuzuri? Yeah, there's a lot of troublemakers in the Kyoto Club, and we're down one of our best shooters. We need to put on a good show if we're going to attract the first years in April. I will say this, it's interesting that, as far as VNs go, the text is showing up on the screen, blocking off, like, the background, and not at the bottom with, like, a little text box saying who is speaking. This might be something that changes further on in the VN, but this is very odd. I see. Sounds rough. Way to show you care. Want to come see? I'm sure the boys would love to know you're watching. I don't know why I went country twang there. The Kyoto Club, huh? I'm acquainted with 3 of its members. One is Ayoko, the girl I'm talking to now. I barely ever speak to the other 2. One of those latter two, there's one I actually can't explain away as simply an acquaintance. I became friends with Ayoko, the club captain, because I'd been watching the club from afar. Welcome, Raging Tide, welcome to the stream, and it's your first time here as well. What would you say is an interesting change? Okay, as long as it's just watching, I'll come. It's not like I have anything else to do this early in the morning. Nice, let's get going. One of our school's trademarks is its well-equipped archery range. The chair of the school board has a passion for Kyudo, traditional Japanese archery, so they built a magnificent range on campus. It's kind of a waste for a high school club, to be honest. Come on, let's go. There's still time before practice starts, so I'll get you some tea. Ayoko tugs on my arm, looking somewhat pleased. If I'm being honest, her brusque way of speaking is a bad habit. As Ayoko said, there's no one else at the range. We sip Japanese tea that's so hot it numbs my tongue as we prepare ahead for today's classes. The hot drink is delicious in the quiet, wintry archery range. Okay, I'll get right down to it. What's up with you today, Tosaka? Did you finally reel in someone good? And she uses the occasion to ask me something completely ridiculous. You're just getting straight to it today, huh? Should I take that tone to mean you beat me to the punch? No comment. If you're not showing your cards, then neither am I. So how about it? If you're being so tired is anything to go by, I bet I'm right on the mark. No comment either, but I guess if I tried to hide it, you'd see right through me. Sadly, not yet. What about you? Can you really afford to take your time on the romantic front? You're not wrong. Things aren't looking too good. Sure, I could grab someone just for appearances, but quality matters, you know? I shouldn't compromise when my future's on the line. Are you worried that you'll make the wrong choice and lose to me? Obviously. The important thing here is that you lose to me. What I actually gain in the process is secondary, really. She chuckles confidently. We're two peas in a pod. Yeah, I told you when we met that this is what it'd be like between us. She did, didn't she? Kill or be killed, I'm sure that's how it'll be between the two of us. I was genuinely surprised to have someone say that right off the bat. Translation, our friendship won't blossom and won't bloom unless we're constantly trading blows. It is what Ayoko was getting at. I agree with her. In the 2 years since then, I still haven't figured out whether she's my friend or my nemesis. How did we get on this again? What? You started it, Tosaka. You complained that you'd never had a boyfriend, so we decided to make it a contest to see who catches one first. Remember? Alright, that was the deal. We said that whoever loses has to do whatever the winner says for a day, right? Yep, I don't think even kids make deals like this anymore, but we're both sore losers. No matter what happens, the loser has to honor the deal. Gotta say, I'm looking forward to winning. Ayoko snickers in delight. My goodness. Ayoko Mitsuzuri is, to put it mildly, a handful. I'll admit, I'm looking forward to winning myself, so that goes for us both. I see, but Mitsuzuri, you can look forward to the future, but don't lose sight of the goal. There's more to our contest than being the first to the finish. I know, it's not a real victory unless it's a relationship that makes you green with envy. That's the biggest challenge for us both, though. It doesn't matter how great of a guy he is if we can't bring ourselves to love him. Ayoko's sigh is heavy. From what I've heard, she's known as a bit of a misinterest. Can't put much stock in gossip, though. That she made this bet at all means less that she doesn't like boys and more like she hasn't found the right person. That aside... Wait, when did this become we? I'll have you know that I'm not an ice queen like you. I have no problem liking a boy. Yeah, not buying it. Maybe you just haven't realized it, but I can't imagine you getting soft on a boy. You're always getting asked out and you've never once said yes. You'd think that if you were actually interested, you'd at least date a few. I'd say your record speaks for itself. You don't care about boys. You have no imagination at all, do you? What if I already have feelings for someone? Wow, talk about tall tales. But sure, I can appreciate a good romance. Ayoko's tone isn't mocking. She nods solemnly. Her sigh tells me that it would have been nice if it were true. I don't believe myself. I really can't hide anything from her. So can I. She's right. I know very well how cold I am. I can see that I'm a novice when it comes to romance. That you are. 2 peas in a pod, right? Damn it, it's already 7. We better cut the secret meeting short. Who knows when someone might walk in on us. Time to start acting like students. Excuse me. Oh, look at you. What a social butterfly. It was worth waking up early just to see it. Not as much as the great Rin Tosaka. I'm the David to your Goliath. Your ability to fake being a goody two-shoes at school is practically an alternate personality. Ayoko sniffs exaggeratedly. I emptied the rest of the teacup she poured and brew a new pot. So why not join a club? Don't feed me your usual bull about being unathletic. I still haven't forgotten how you beat me in every fitness test last year. You have me beat in lung capacity, though. And weight? Yeah, I gained 3 kilos. Wait, that's nothing to celebrate, damn it. You tricked me. Ayako slaps the table. Careful, you might spill the tea. Shouldn't the club captain be taking better care of the place? Shut it. I'm your rival first and club captain somewhere after that. If there's no one else around, you can bet I'm ready to take the fight to you. Ayako side-eyes me with a huff. She has a unique idea about beauty. A beautiful woman must walk the martial path. She's always going on about that. Not surprisingly, she's well-versed in most martial arts. Kyudo was the discipline she was least skilled at, so she joined the club and worked her way up to captain. She's probably one of the top 3 people in our school you'd least want to mess with. Should you really be saying that you stop being captain if none of your club members are around? Why not? I'm only captain for show. I can just add the more unruly members take care of any grunt work. Plus, there's better shooters than me. Anyway, I don't have any captain's honor to defend. And so, I recall Miss Fujimura saying that you were the best they had. Coming from her, that's a bit of an ego boost, but still, she's only saying that because of the guy who left. You're right, though. If Miss Fujimura thinks that much of me, I better act like a real captain. That's spirit, and speak of the devil, here come your clubmates now. Time for me to go, but make sure you do your part. What, you're not going to watch us shoot? I wouldn't understand it even if I did. It's one thing to watch from afar, but the uninitiated shouldn't loiter in the dojo. That was an interesting transition out for her character model. Just as I get up to leave, the first club members begin entering the archery range. Good morning, Captain. Sakura. Well, morning, Mato. Are you by yourself today? Yes, I'm sorry I couldn't convince him to come. That's fine. If he doesn't want to, there's no point in forcing him. Ayako speaks to the first club member to arrive. I'll be going then. See you later, Mitsuzuri. Yeah, later, Tosaka. Have a good day, Tosaka. Thanks. Hang in there, Sakura. It's interesting that we're starting things off from Rin's perspective. From what I remember hearing, FSN is mainly from Shiro's perspective, so this is definitely unexpected. I leave the dojo behind me so as to not get in the way. Morning, Tosaka. Funny running into you so early. Oh no, and here comes the person I least wanted to see. Good morning, Mato. You're here early. Of course I am. I'm the captain, so I need to set a good example for the first years. Shinji Mato from Class 2C grins at me. He's the vice captain of the Kyudo Club and the darling of half the girls at school. It's mostly thanks to his looks, of course, but he's also admired for his good grades, social graces, being kind to girls, and being an overall heartthrob, or something like that. I'm sorry, this is all news to me, Shinji. Okay. I really don't follow that kind of stuff, it's just what I hear from my classmates say. I see. Hate to burst your bubble, but I'm pretty sure you're forgetting an important part of that, Matao. Try to remember next time. What's that? Vice. I don't care whether you're captain or vice captain, but if you make a point of leaving it out, people might think it bothers you, vice captain. You're right. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks, Tosaka. Not sure I did anything you should thank me for, but hey, I'm not going to stop you. With that, I turn to leave the range. Well, hang on. You're here to watch, aren't you? You're more than welcome to stay. Pass. I don't want to interrupt your practice. I don't mind at all. If anyone says otherwise, I'll kick them out. So why don't you stick around? I already said I don't want to intrude. It's not as if I'm particularly interested in Kyudo. I'm not really excited to watch a bunch of people I don't know shooting arrows. What's that, Tosaka? You don't care about Kyudo? I must just be confused after seeing you watch us after school so many times. I don't know what he's playing at, but he seems to have seriously misunderstood things. So, you knew Mateo. Yeah, our eyes met often, you and I. I saw you watching me. I wanted to call out to you, but you know how it is. I can't raise my voice on the range. Shinji starts closing on me, looking pleased with himself. I see the triumphant glint in his eyes, competing with that available smile. I had it wrong all along. I thought you liked watching us shoot, but you aren't interested. Why were you watching then, Tosaka? That was a weird fade out. Probably because they had to change up to be having open eyes. Now I see. It would sound like that, wouldn't it? Would you mind taking a step back, Mato? I like my personal space. What was that, Tosaka? Well, you're still not getting it. This isn't my usual style, but I guess if it's what I'll take. Here, I'll make this real simple so even you can understand. I'm even less interested in you than I am in Kyoto. I didn't even know you were in the club, and I doubt I'll remember next time either. What did you just say? I must have touched a nerve because he tries to grab me roughly. Twist out of his reach and turn to leave. Bye, Mato. Sometimes a little self-consciousness can do you good. You little... Shinji sounds like he's about to say something, but he keeps his temper and doesn't chase after me. The guy is all style, no substance. If he even had a little backbone, the people around him wouldn't suffer nearly so much. I take the rear entrance into campus from the archery range. It's past 7 now, but there still aren't students in the hallways. Taiga! Hey, it's Tosaka. Good morning, Miss Fujimura. Yep, good morning to you. I just love how you're so polite to teachers like me. The strange one pretends to sob in delight. It may be hard to believe, but this extraordinarily affectionate and happy-go-lucky woman is actually a teacher here. Is there another way to say good morning? There sure are. The first years all greet me properly, but once they're upperclassmen, they stop using my surname. Don't follow their example, alright? No, I'm not quite sure I understand, but I wouldn't want to be rude to you. Good girl. Oh, how I wish they could be more like you, Tosaka. With a parting wave and a see ya, Miss Fujimura leaves. Fortunately, she isn't my homeroom teacher. Miss Fujimura teaches English. Her sunny attitude belays her expert rank in Japanese fencing, kendo. In her student days, they called her Fuyuki, the Fuyuki Tiger. That's the mystery, though. You'd think someone who known as a tiger would be feared, not adored, right? Miss Fujimura cheerily heads off in a direction of the archery range. For some reason, she's the faculty advisor to the Kyoto Club instead of the Kendo Club. I think it has to do with Shiro. It's just before 7:30. I can see students doing their club activities on the school grounds, but there's hardly anyone indoors. Except... Tosaka. He always blurts out my name like I did something wrong every time he sees me. Well, if isn't the student council president. It's a little early for patrolling campus, isn't it? Or you may be fixing up the club rooms. You're diligent as always. Not that I care. And just what are you doing? You're not even in a club, so why are you here so early? I just felt like it. I'm not an early riser like your family, Ryodo. The student council president's handsome face darkens with suspicion. He seems to have it out for me. I really don't know why. Maybe me saying temples are so dull past is what started it. One question for you. Have you been staying late on campus lately, Tosaka? Nope. I'm in the Go Home Club. You know that. Naturally, as the appointed student council president, I'm well acquainted with all of our students' affairs. That's nice. I'm not sure why you bothered asking, then. I hope you're not trying to pawn your student council work off on outsiders. Spying your fellow students yourself. Don't ask me. It's got nothing to do with me. In what way are you an outsider? Don't think I haven't noticed the way you use your wiles to get your hooks into our treasurer, you vixen. Well, that was uncalled for. Mitsuzuri just asked me to publicize your club budget allocation. Don't the students have a right to know their funds are being spent? That's all it was to you, was it? The psychological damage you inflicted on the treasurer made her take an entire week off. I shouldn't be surprised to see just how twisted your ethics are. Look who's talking. You ought to keep your staff on a tighter leash. Playing favorites at cultural clubs doesn't seem fair to me. I know that. That's why I was going to audit them myself. Shiro! It's fixed, you say. Just then, an unexpected visitor makes his presence known. He definitely has a lot shorter hair in the VN compared to when drawn anime style. Oh, sorry, Emiya. You're doing all the work while I'm out here, and I just asked for your help with the repairs. Forgive me. Ah, interesting. So Shiro doesn't have a voice actor. Don't worry about it. Where's the next one? We don't have much time. The AV room, then. The equipment's been acting up for a while, and it finally gave up the ghost. If it's completely broken, I can't fix it. It'd be easier to buy a new one. You're right, but I'd still appreciate it if you take a look. It looks like it's on its deathbed to me, but you might be able to nurse it back to health. Okay, I'll try. Beckoned by the other student, the president leaves. I stopped thinking during the sudden turn of events. The other boy, wrench and screwdriver in hand, turns as if he's remembered something. You're early today, Tosaka. He awkwardly mutters, and leaves. Was that supposed to be a greeting? The president and the student called Emiya walk off into the distance. That would be Shiro Emiya from Class 2C. I hope that's all it was. How do I put it? The wrench looked right at home in his hands, but I'm not sure if it's because it makes him look tough or handy. At 7:30 a.m., there's nobody else in classroom 2A. I'd take a seat at my desk and flip through my math workbook. There's still 30 minutes left until morning homeroom. I've got time to kill until my classmates start arriving. The classroom is lively as lunch break begins after 4th period. My school is a cafeteria, so only about half of the students stay in the room. It's mostly girls that stay behind. The girls think the cafeteria is a bit too liberal with their seasonings, so... Is this just a miscellaneous background? I'm Tosaka. Would you like to have lunch with me? We girls tend to enjoy our lunches as a group. I'm sorry I can't say Gusa, but thanks for asking. I'll be eating at the cafeteria today. I overslept this morning, so I didn't have time to make lunch. Of course. Sorry for ambushing you with that. Saigusa looks guiltily at her feet. Among the refined and well-behaved students of Class A, she's the most demure. For some reason, she's really nice to me. There's nothing to apologize for. I just didn't have time to make a lunch today. Please, ask me again tomorrow. I let her down as gently as I can and offer a genuine smile. Oh, okay. So even you can sleep in too, huh? Perhaps my smile made her feel better. Saigusa turns back to her table, looking relieved. She's adorable. Yukika Saigusa isn't drop-dead gorgeous, but her smile puts everyone around her at ease. It does happen. I don't let it show, but I'm really not a morning person. I can't get up early enough to be in any clubs. Saigusa somehow manages to maintain an elegant air even when startled. Watching her reactions is always so calming, but that doesn't mean I have time to just stand here and talk. If I keep a conversation up with someone so disarming, the real me is bound to show herself. Off to the cafeteria, then. Enjoy your lunch. You too, Tosaka. Saigusa and I exchange some graceful greetings, then she returns to her friends. I see that she's eating with Kaede, Makidera, and Kane Himiura. Right, wasn't Saigusa the track and field club manager? Makidera and Himura are the track and field club's rising stars. Makidera is a bad influence with whom I go window shopping on days off, but I don't know Himura too well. Looks like you got some Saichi. Told you that Tosaka didn't bring lunch. If you want a hooker, you gotta bring enough food for both of you. Maki, you can't just go to the cafeteria with her too, then. Nah, it's too cramped in there to share space with us brown baggers. Plus, it's really annoying how boys stare when you sit next to Tosaka. Last time we hung out, she hogged all the attention. She's an overachiever and all swanky, too. I can't take it. Makidera takes hold of Saigusa's deck as she continues to rant about me. Despite her foul mouth, she actually wears a kimono really well, like a picturesque Japanese beauty. Makino-ji, Lady Tosaka can hear everything you're saying. Meanwhile, Himiura's cool and solid demeanor are a complete foil to that of Makidera. Oh crap, did she hear me? I bet she's totally glaring at me. Oh, I didn't think she's glaring at you. She's totally shooting lasers. It's the scariest when she's smiling at you. Oh, come on, let it slide. We're pals, remember? I treated you to taiyaki that one time. Kaede Makidera puffs her cheeks out into a pout, waving her disposable chopsticks in the air. Would you believe that her hobby is collecting wind chimes? The world works in strange ways. At any rate, it's rude for Saigusa to stare at the three of them. Cut between me and the foul-mouthed Makidera, Saigusa looks like she doesn't know what to do with herself. It's alright, Saigusa. Makidera, I was the one who treated you to crepes, not taiyaki. You really ought to fix how often you work on hyperbole. That smile scares the daylights out of me. Makidera holds up her lunchbox load like some kind of shield. I bid the odd trio farewell and leave the classroom. and slide the door closed. Oops. Give me a break. Taiyaki, crepes, what's the difference? They're both sweet things wrapped in carbs. Maki utters something blasphemous for a girl. She really thinks taiyaki and crepes are the same? Is she even human? Are all desserts the same to her? If I had known that her taste buds can't distinguish Floor's 500 yen very, very berry from an 80 yen taiyaki Ido Maya, damn you, Kaede Made Makidera, I could have saved 420 yen. What am I getting actually upset for? I'm gonna still be tired from last night. The cafeteria sounds like a pain, so I'll just buy some bread from the counter and eat on the roof. Gracious, this is a very long prologue. Purchased my lunch and head to the unoccupied roof. Though it's different in the summertime, during the winter the roof is a convenient place to eat that the other students tend to avoid. It's too cold to hang out here during lunch, but that's a small price to pay for privacy. Time to eat. I indulge in the tomato sandwich and hot lemon drink I brought from the cafeteria. It's a simple lunch, made all the more delicious by the fact I can enjoy it up here in peace. I finish the sandwich and sip in the warm lemony drink. I'm a little tired. It's hard to balance being an overachiever with avoiding human contact as much as possible. As the saying goes, one should be accomplished at both pen and the sword. It's a point of pride, no conviction that I be the top student in the school. I decided that if I was going to be a student, that I would be the very best. I don't want people looking down on the Tosaka name. That's how Rin Tosaka came to be a perfect, flawless student. On the other hand, my occupation as a mage is dangerous, so I shouldn't associate too much with normal people. When a mage is discovered by the public, she has no choice but to eliminate witnesses to protect herself. I'd rather not resort to that. That's why I keep my social interactions purely superficial out of necessity. I only hang out with Makidera on my days off, and I turn down invitations from more social people like Saigusa. It's difficult walking the tightrope of being the #1 student at school while making sure I don't become anybody else's #1. And sure, there are times when it tires me out and I feel like life is a real drag. Oh, it's already time. I finish the hot lemon drink and stand up. That's enough sentimentality for today. Time to go back downstairs and become Rin Tosaka again. Hey, Jixter. Welcome to the stream. Howdy things. Homeroom is over. Make sure you log your date shifts and lock the doors and windows. If you don't have any club activities, try to get home quickly. But welcome, Jixter, welcome. Let me get the level up doc up. Class 2A's teacher gives his usual spiel and leaves the room. As far as I know, he's said it exactly the same way all year. Howdy things, Jixter. Tosaka, are you going home already? Yeah, I had a run with Matao this morning, so I want to leave before it gets out of hand. I figured. He sure had a temper this morning. You must have put him through the ringer. I'm doing pretty good. This is a very, very long prologue, though. Like, good gracious. I've been going for almost 50 minutes. The remaster. I am playing the remaster on Steam, to be specific. Did he now? Sorry for the trouble. It wasn't really. Matao's always hard on the younger students. It helps build character. Glad to hear it. I'll make it up to you later. Oh, that's why my number locks off. Sure. I hope it doesn't put you off. Stop by again sometime. I make my way home without taking any detours. You have no interest in getting this. I mean, that's completely fair. This is something that I've wanted to play ever since FGO came out, because I wanted to see where it all began. And something that I did promise myself that when it does... Actually, I made a promise on stream years ago that when FSN was eventually released on Steam, I would stream it. And so here I am. I think it's going to just be Fridays is going to be FSN, because I know it's long. I don't know how long, but considering this prologue has taken almost 50 minutes, and we're only focusing on Rin right now, I have no idea how much more it's going to, wind outwards. Oh, that's cool. Thanks for telling me, Raging. Make my way home without taking any detours. My time as Rin Tosaka the honor student ends once I leave the school. Next half of the day is reserved for the other me. I have to become a mage of the Tosaka. When I arrive back at the house, I'm greeted with the pulsing light of my answering machine. Voicemail. That's rare. Figures. It's Kirei. I have a feeling I know what he's going to say, but I'd better listen or I won't hear the end of it later. I press the play button and hear a familiar voice. VNs bore me to sleep in like 20 minutes. That's fair. VNs are definitely not for everybody. That is a completely fair thing. And again, I made a remark on this earlier, but I don't know if it's going to change the format. Because most modern VNs, from what I understand, all the dialogue appears in a text box down at the bottom, showing who's talking, not just covering this all. It's me, as I'm sure you're aware. Tomorrow is the time limit, Ren. Also, call back to answering machines. I remember that tech. We will have a problem if you procrastinate any further. There are only 2 spots left. I must ensure that all the masters are in order soon. The priest cuts straight to the point. If you plan to forfeit your rights as a master, let me know by today. It will take time to dispatch a substitute mage. Liar, I bet you could find a backup right away. You have already shown signs of command spell. Promptly summon your servant, and bind them to it. Of course, it's a different discussion if you choose not to take part in the Holy Grail War. If you fear for your life, then come back to the church with all due haste. The voicemail ends. It was a clear message in simple language. If you're going to fight, then be ready by today. If you aren't, then retire, because you're in the way. I don't need you to tell me that. It's only to be expected, I guess. Today is the last day I can drag this out. Thankfully, I managed to decipher Father's notes yesterday. My battle preparations are in order. All that's left is to seize the right to participate, as he said. The Holy Grail War. A fight to the death over a single chalice. A ritual that's gone on for centuries. The mages who take part in the Holy Grail War are called masters. It doesn't denote a rank of any kind, it merely describes their role. There's a condition to participate in the Holy Grail War. You must summon a familiar called a servant, and form a contract with them. Regardless of your skills as a mage, you are not recognized as a master unless you command a servant. There's a clear difference between servants and normal familiars. The way you summon and use them are different. Mages who plan to fight in the Holy Grail will prepare summoning catalysts, but I wish Father had left me something with a connection to a saber. I don't own any relics with a connection to a servant. I can summon one, yes. In fact, I could do it right now if I wanted to, as well as form a contract. The town's ley lines are under the jurisdiction of the Tosaka. I'm the heir to a clan that's administered the land for generations, so my performance will not take a back seat to some visiting mage. Although, while that is true, it'd be awfully incompetent of me to embark in a figurative voyage without a compass. Servants are drawn to symbols. To summon a powerful servant, one needs a symbol with a connection to that servant. In other words, I'd need something outrageously valuable item like a sword or piece of armor that any servant owned, or maybe a bone or heraldry related to them. I had such big hopes for Father's will. No, he still did leave me a serious trump card. The pendant I discovered in the basement last night is an ancient artifact of the highest quality. It's amazing all on its own. Still, it won't help me summon a servant. Fine, I don't really need to rely on something to figure this out. To begin with, I doubt there's any master more qualified to handle saber than I am. Alright, I've made up my mind. I'd rather not get another earful, and waiting until the last minute doesn't sit right with me. Now the real challenge begins. Tonight, I'm going to summon a servant while I'm in peak condition, and acquire a saber by force. You know, if you just need something tangentially related, Rin, why didn't you just get a sword? Late night. The clock reads almost 2 a.m. This is the period where everything lines up. My condition peaks at 2 a.m. sharp. In terms of limits, this will be my first and last chance, so I can't afford even the slightest mistake. Withdrawal within elimination. Engrave 4 circles of withdrawal and surround them with the summoning circle. There. Drop of blood. I inscribe magical circles onto the floor of the basement. Actually, it doesn't take a major evocation to call forth the servant. Servants are invited by the Holy Grail. Masters anchor them to the world and supply their magical energy to materialize them, but the servants are the ones who choose to respond to the summons. Ah, we finally get a look at what Rin looks like when she's grown up. Very brief look, but 4 elements, silver and iron. For the foundation, stone, and the Archduke of Pax. For the ancestor, my great master, Schweinorg. Raise a wall for the wind that shall fall. Close the gates of the 4 directions. Come forth from the crown and follow the forked road, leading to the kingdom. Thank you for the follow, Raging. Thank you very much. Still, I need to keep cautious and focus. Magic circles are normally drawn with blood, but tonight I draw mine with melted jewels. I'm using up to half the jewels I've accumulated over my lifetime, so I'll never financially recover from this if it fails. Fill, close, fill, close, fill, close. I'm trying to think, what would have happened if she had used blood as her catalyst? Repeat 5 times. When each is filled, destroy it. It's almost 2 a.m. I finished drawing the summoning circle pass down through the Tosaka line and face it with all my being. Set. I flick a formless switch within myself. With a click, I feel my insides turn over to something else. My normal nerves invert and become circuits for conducting magical energy. Rin Tosaka is no longer human. She's a component in the execution of mystics. I melt from my fingers. No, I'm filled up from my fingers. The mana I am taking in is so dense it overrides my bodily sensations. That's why I'm being destroyed at the same time I'm being filled. Running through my body is the power, mana, from the atmosphere. I convert it into a different type of energy through my body's circuits. A mage's body is nothing but circuits. Circuits connect the ethereal to the material. The mystical outcome we produce is what we call magecraft. My body grows hot. It seems like horns are growing from my forehead. It seems like wings are sprouting from my back. It seems like scales are covering my hands. It feels like there's water pooling around my ankles. Sweat drips. Stab, stab. Swords pierce my body. These are the stigmata that reject my body, which become a circuit. No matter how gifted a mage is, we're only human. In a human body, the pain is something we must live with whenever we use magecraft. The cycle doesn't let up. Beyond the agony, deep within the trance, lies the mental state necessary for connection. Pain wriggles in my left arm. To aid the caster, my magic crest autonomously begins an incantation invading my nervous system. I was looking to see if that was misspelled, but it wasn't. The mana in the atmosphere I've taken in turns to blood. It's like molten lead. With my activated magic circuits resembling thorny nerves. With a crunching sensation, it creeps through my body like a thorny centipede. Within the hurt, I forget myself. At the same time, I can feel it taking hold of me, like I've reached where I need to go. My hypersensitive hearing picks up the ticking clock in the parlor. 10 seconds left until 2 a.m. The power filling my body is unquestionably complete. Heed my words. Time to begin. I convert the mana I've collected into the magical energy for fixation. All that's left is to feed all that energy into the engine, the summoning circle, until my body runs dry. Heed my words. My will creates your body, and your sword creates my destiny. If you heed the Grail's call, and obey my will and reason, then answer me. My vision goes dark. What lies before me now is the 5th factor, said to be imperceptible to the naked eye. My vision shuts off on its own, fearing what it might see. I hereby swear, I shall be all the good in the world. I shall defeat all evil in the world. 7 heavens clad in 3 great words of power. Come forth from the circle of binding, guardian of the scales. Then, that went off without a hitch. feels so perfect. It's like I'm reeling in a whale with a fishing rod. Flawless. I'm positive I just drew the strongest card. I can't wait for my vision to return. It'll take a few more seconds, but when it does, I'm sure the strongest servant will be nowhere in sight. There's nothing here. The room doesn't look different at all. I spun that much in ether into this ritual, only for absolutely nothing to materialize. On top of that, I think I just heard something explode in the parlor. Why? I bolt. My head's empty at this point. I just run. I race up the stairs from the basement. The door's broken. The door to the parlor is askew off its hinges. There isn't any point in turning the doorknob, and since it won't open whether I push or pull... Damn it, move, you stupid thing. I kicked it down and burst into the room. And the moment I enter the parlor, everything becomes clear. It's actually Satan! Everything is in tatters. Rubble is strewn across everything as if something has fallen through the ceiling. On top of it all sits a man, cocking his head arrogantly. He must be some kind of criminal. But something graver draws my attention. The grandfather clock, having escaped the destruction, tells me the time precisely. Now I remember. Right, of course. The clocks were an hour ahead today, weren't they? Which means it's 1 a.m. Still 4 hours left until I'm in peak spellcasting form. I screwed up again. I can complete tasks as well as anybody else, but suffer from the curse of my genetics. When it really counts, I somehow managed to bungle things on an unbelievable level. What's done is done. Just gotta learn from this. Can't believe my own stupidity. Still irritated, I direct my glare at the man lounging haughtily on the rubble. So, what are you? That's the first thing out of your mouth? I seem to have been dealt a truly ridiculous master. The man in red mantle shakes his head in a show of exasperation. To add insult to injury, he mutters something about drawing the short straw. Oh, now I'm dead certain. This guy has a messed up personality. And is this a servant? I thought familiars were shapeless beings, but this was just a man. No, not just a man. Even from here I can tell that it's brimming with a shocking amount of magical energy. Don't be fooled by its appearance. I'm staring at something that's undoubtedly more than human. It's a human-shaped ghost on the level of an elemental. This is no time to be dumbstruck. That thing belongs to me. I need to get my head in the game. Just checking, but you are my servant, right? That's what I wanted to ask. Are you even my master? I've never been summoned so violently before, and honestly, I'm still struggling to get my bearings. It's my first time, too. I'm not answering questions like that. I see. But you weren't here when I was summoned. Care to explain why? Are you serious? You're no baby bird. Don't joke like you can't decide who to serve if they aren't there when you open your eyes. The unidentified servant frowns and a grunt escapes his lips. Maybe he didn't like the way I said it, though he has a mixed reaction, as I'm still impressed by the logic in my words. Whatever. What I'm asking you is if you're my servant and no one else's. I don't have to answer any of your questions until we make that clear. This is what I get after a failed summoning, huh? I believe there's something else you should be saying. There isn't. In a master-familiar relationship, this is the first detail we need to hash out. The servant's eyebrows twitch. He isn't even bothering to hide his dissatisfaction with me. I wonder if it's because of the half-baked summoning. You want to clarify who serves whom? At least you know how to run your mouth, even if you fail at everything else. Sure, I agree with that opinion. We ought to make clear who's strong and who's weak, or else it'll make this dynamic difficult. The servant eyes me meaningfully, still relaxing on the rubble of my living room. Who's weak? Yeah, I'm a servant, and I'll acknowledge that I serve my summoner, but that's only how it is on paper, wouldn't you say? We still need to establish who's superior and whether or not you're worthy to fight alongside. On that point, are you a mage worthy of my service, little girl? The servant smirks. First, he destroys my house and acts like he's the king of the castle, and now he has the nerve to ask whether I'm worthy? I didn't ask for your opinion. I only asked if you're my servant or not. I repeat myself, stealing my gaze. I'm not going to back down from this condescending jerk. I see. You won't even deign to answer such an obvious question? At least you've got spirit. You can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? Like I said, you are getting ahead of yourself. It's the summoner's duty to confirm this first. Now answer me. Are you my servant or not? I step forward aggressively, ready to pounce depending on his answer. Such a stubborn girl. We'll get nowhere at this rate. Very well, for discussion's sake, let's assume I am your servant. In that case, are you my master? Hypothetically speaking, of course. Obviously, you're the servant I summoned, so who else would it be? I glare at this rude man, giving my seething head a moment to cool down. Well, I suppose I would be, hypothetically. Then where's the proof that you're my master? The servant blithely asks, smirking all the while. He's clearly trying to goad me with these questions into losing my temper. Right here. This is proof that I'm your master. Command spells. I show him the command spells on my right hand. Don't think I was born yesterday. Father's told me enough that I know what command spells are, at least. Good enough for you yet? Any other complaints? I throw the symbols at him in challenge. The lounging servant rolls his eyes. Are you serious right now, girl? His face darkens, looking even more disgruntled. What do you mean? I'm talking about the way you think. Command spells automatically my master? They're merely tools to compel a servant. Can't believe you think flaunting some symbols is enough to play master. What I want to see is whether you deserve my loyal service. That makes sense, but normally you'd think command spells if someone... You'd think of command spells if someone asks for proof of master, right? What, you think I'm unqualified to be your master? I wish that were the case, but unfortunately your command spells show that you summoned me. As hard as it is to believe, you appear to be my master. He shrugs in mock exhaustion. Uh-oh, I've reached my boiling point, and I'm not going to cool down in time. I'm hardly satisfied, but I'll concede the point. For now, you're my master, but I have conditions. I'm not going to do whatever you say. I'll decide the direction of battle, and you'll act as I see fit. This is the greatest concession I can give you. I'm sure you don't mind, girl. Sorry, Father. I'm at my limit. Okay, you're saying you recognize me, even though you don't like it, but you'll still ignore my opinions. Aren't you supposed to be my servant? I ask in a trembling voice. After our spat over the command spells, this is my last desperate attempt at dialogue. And yet... Yes, technically, therefore I will obey you in theory, but I'm the only one who will be fighting. You can just hide underground in your house and behave until the Holy Grail War is over. That way, even a novice like you will survive. He's looking down on me, declaring that he expects nothing from me. Did I make you angry? Of course I respect your position. I was summoned to bring my master victory, after all. My victories will belong to you, as will any spoils of war. You hardly have anything to complain about. Oh, you can't even use those command spells. Just leave the rest to me and worry about your own skin. I've had it with you. Fine, if that's how it's going to be, then I'll use them. Set. No more mercy. I've got nothing left for the jackass like this. Don't tell me. It's exactly what you're thinking, you dirtbag. I hereby invoke my command spells. In accordance with the laws of the Holy Grail, bind my servant in absolute obedience. Wait, have you lost your mind, Master? Who would waste command spell on something like this? Shut up. You're my servant, get it? That means you absolutely have to do what I say. The emblem on my right hand aches. 3 command spells. They allow a master to issue 3 unbreakable commands to their servants. Did you even think this through, if you use a command spell in such a vague order? It's too late to whine now. I didn't expect this to happen either. I'd want to die of self-loathing. Can't believe I just burned one of my precious command spells on a petty squabble. After that, I retreated from the ruins of the parlor and went to my bedroom. Before me stands the servant with whom my command spells compelled absolute obedience from. Supposedly, anyway. I see. More or less have you figured out, Master. Who would call this absolute obedience? Just to be clear, do you understand how critical command spells are, Master? Sure I do. They let me order my servant around 3 times. What about it? Listen, command spells let you force a servant into action. You can use them to not only stop actions, but also strengthen actions. For example, normally I can't come to you instantly from a distant location, but if you order me to with your command spell, it's possible as long as it's something that is attainable with our magical energies. That's what the power of forced compliance means. Not even we servants can resist. Your command spells are 3 crystallizations of grand magecrafts that can make us overcome our bodily limits, though you're down to 2 now. I know that. So what? I still have 2 more, and it's not like the first order was wasted on you. You're right, I did miscalculate. The more vague an order is, the more power the command spell diminishes. They rake around long-lasting broad commands like protect me until the end or win this war for me. The compulsion will be sustained, but there will be servants who can resist the minor pain of disobedience. On the other hand, singular commands like unleash your next attack at all costs or do not break the glass are absolute, and even powerful servants will find it difficult to defy them. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you, Master? Yes, you're saying that vague commands are pointless. If the effect and restriction are both weak, then the servant can act against the command spells. It's better to use them on simple, straightforward order rather than something abstract. That's correct. Command spell is meant to cause miracles beyond our own means. It's unforgivably foolish to spend them on a task that can be executed by other means. That goes doubly for the way you used it earlier. You could have verbally persuaded me to obey you, and even 100 command spells would have failed to enforce absolute obedience. So you're saying it was all for nothing. Normally that would be the case, but it appears that you are an outstandingly talented mage. Is he shocked or happy? My servant's lips twitch upward even as he sighs. By outstanding, you mean... Hang on. Tell me honestly, what is your condition like right now? The implication dawns on me, and I ask him eagerly. That was my miscalculation. Your command should have resulted in a change of heart that would make me want to respect your opinions slightly more. But I can feel strong compulsions from your every word. If I voice an objection, let me think. It's as if my defiance would weaken me. In other words, my body will grow heavy, making it difficult to move if I defy my master's will. My servant shrugs in resignation. So he's saying that my command spell wasn't a waste, but an actual benefit. He's still being sarcastic as ever, so it doesn't seem to have had any effect. Besides, even if he is weakened, I doubt even 10 of me could resist if he decided to rebel against me. Allow me to retract my previous statement, Master. You may be young, but you are a superior mage. It was my mistake for underestimating you as a child and trying to keep you out of the fight. I apologize for my rudeness. The servant straightens his posture and gives me a formal bow. Wait, hold on. I know we said a lot of things to each other, but it's not like we need to make up after. Is that so? Good. I'm glad you're so understanding. Awfully quick on the uptake, aren't you? And I indeed miscalculated, but this must be what they call a happy accident. I have no qualms bringing a mage of your talents into the war. Is this his roundabout way of saying I'm a strong master? So you'll recognize me as your master, even without the command spells? Of course, I was still getting my bearings after the summoning earlier, but we're now completely connected. As a mage, you should be able to feel the bond of our pact. Our pact? Now that he mentions it, something does feel weird about my body. It's as if my closed-off nerves are now connected to the outside. Specifically, I can feel a portion of my magical energy flowing into the man before me. Now, the Holy Grail calls the servants, but the masters keep them in the world. Yes, that's your power as a master. You supply your servant with magical energy so they can remain in the world. And my supply is adequate. I have concerns about your inexperience, but your power makes up for it. Common mage would probably faint the second they summon a servant, yet you're standing here full of life. Considering the command spell you used earlier, your energy capacity unquestionably makes you a master of the finest caliber. Flattery won't get you anywhere. I break eye contact out of embarrassment. Well, I didn't see this coming. I know the command spell is making him obey me, but still, this superhuman servant is sincerely acknowledging me as his master. So, which servant are you? Clear my head and return to business. You can't tell by looking? Very well, then. I take it all back. He's definitely making fun of me. Fine, then. I'm asking you as your master. Hey, aren't you a saber? Unfortunately, I'm not equipped with a sword. I suspected as much. When all is said and done, I got the time wrong, my summoning circle didn't do its job, and my servant was spat out into some random room. It was far too sloppy of a ritual to summon the strongest servant, Saber. I really botched it this time. I'll never live down failing to pull Saber after this many gems. So many people have said the exact same thing over FGO's lifespan. Sorry, I'm not Saber. Well, sure, it's a painful mistake, but I'm the only one who screwed up. Yes, I bet you think archers isn't a very attractive class. You're right. I'll make you eat those words when the time comes. I won't be taking any apologies. What? What a surprise. The unidentified servant seems to be sulking. Maybe my fixation on Saber offended him. That struck a nerve, Archer. It did. Just you watch. I'll show you how lucky you are to have me. Archer retorts with a sidelong glance. He has a really spiteful air about him, but that reaction felt somehow childish and free of malice. You know, he might be a pretty decent guy. Okay, make sure I regret what I said, Archer. I'll apologize from the bottom of my heart if so. You'd better remember that, Master. You'll be grateful once you learn how capable I am. Of course, an apology might not satisfy me at that point. Archer huffs, even as his lips twist into a grin. Oh yeah, this one's got a rotten personality, alright. Fine. Anyway, you're a heroic spirit, so where's your legend originally from? Archer doesn't answer. His sardonic expression is replaced by a deepening frown. Archer, your master just asked you a question. It's a secret. What? I can't tell you where I'm from because... yeah, I'll get mad if you give me a lame excuse. Well, there's that face again. Archer opens and closes his mouth as if he's having trouble voicing an uncomfortable truth. Because... I don't know. Wait, what? Huh? Are you making fun of me again? I don't mean to insult you, but it must be because of your imperfect summoning. My memories are jumbled. I know who I am, but my name and origins are a haze. Still, it isn't valuable information, so there's no need for concern. Of course I'm concerned. If I don't know which heroic spirit you are, then how am I supposed to know how strong you are? And what's the problem? That's a trivial question. There you go again. How am I supposed to form a strategy if I can't tell how strong my partner is? We can't fight a war like this. What do you mean? I'm the servant that you summoned. Naturally, that makes me the strongest. He's so straightforward. This Crimson Knight fixes me with a gaze full of confidence and trust. My brain grinds to a halt. There's no deception in Archer's words. He's sincerely giving me more credit than I deserve, even though we've just met. My cheeks are burning. I'm sure I'm blushing bright red right now. Surprise attacks like this tend to be my weakness. Ain't that the truth? Fine then, at least nobody knows who you are. They say you have to fool your allies to fool your enemies. I turn away from Archer to hide my embarrassment. I'm sure I'll figure out in due time what sort of servant he is anyway. For now, we have other priorities. Okay, I won't ask you about your identity for the time being. Then, Archer, here's your first job. Jumping straight into it, are we? Guess you're an aggressive type. What's the... Before you can say enemy, I toss a broom and tusk fan at him. Just go clean up the mess you made downstairs. A few seconds pass in stunned silence. When Archer finally regains his senses, he grips the boom indigently. Wait, what exactly do you think a servant is? Well, familiar, right? A little uppity and hard to deal with, though. Archer cuts himself off. I have no intention of letting him off, and if he tries to weasel out of it, I still have a card to play. I object. I refuse to. Are you sure? That's a direct order from your master. I thought you said you'd feel weighted down if you went against me. It's too bad if that's too much for you to handle, but the penalty will continue until the parlor is clean, you know. Won't that pose a risk to you when we start fighting tomorrow? He stands there for several more seconds with broom in hand, grumbling under his breath. And so the archer in red mantle closes his eyes. Understood. Go to hell, master. And gracefully accepts my order. Now then, It's getting late, so I should rest. I can decide how to deal with him once I wake up. Get a drink. A fateful day draws to a close. No, rather, my fate was shaped by this night. This makes 6, including me. Once the 7th and final master summons their servant, the Holy Grail War of this generation will begin. In the not-so-distant future, the battle I've been waiting 10 long years for is about to commence. Okay. Are we done with the prologue now? Showing us February 1st. Okay. The Holy Grail War. It's a grand ritual that's been repeated for hundreds of years. A fight to the death between 7 participants, of which only 1 can survive. It's said that a Holy Grail exists in the land of Fuyuki, and that a number of mages fought over it in the past. Their one and only objective was to obtain the relic called the Holy Grail. However, the Grail's origins are unclear. We're sure it isn't the chalice that held the blood of God, but its power is fearsome enough to be compared to the genuine article. That's right. They say the Holy Grail can grant any wish. Only 1 person can possess it. The Holy Grail can only grant 1 wish for 1 person. Despite that, 7 mages are needed to summon the Grail to this land. 7 collaborators to create 1 miracle. So as you might imagine, it was only a matter of time before they started fighting over the Grail. Like so many conflicts, it started as a competition over property rights. The 7 mages equally used the power of the Holy Grail to summon their respective familiars, then do battle over the Grail itself. Only 1 mage can obtain the Grail. As a result, 7 people who started as colleagues ended up in a ferocious battle to the death. That's the gist of the ritual known as the Holy Grail War, a struggle for ownership between mages. The mages chosen by the Holy Grail are called Masters, who use the blessings of the Grail to acquire powerful familiars known as servants. The classic servant card backs. 2 things serve as proof that one has become a master. The summoning and the command of a servant, and the mark of the command spells that compel servant servitude. The first goes without saying. The archer I summoned yesterday, no, a few hours ago to be exact, is Rin Tosaka's servant. As for the second, a master must closely guard the command spells that control one's servant. This is probably the most critical aspect of being a master. When I summoned Archer, symbols appeared on my right hand, namely command spells. Stigmata bestowed by the Holy Grail upon summoning a servant that may mark one's new status as a master. A massive amount of magical energy is compressed into these seals, whose powers are fleeting rather than long-lasting. They disappear once they're used, and the shape suggests each mark represents a single use. In other words, one only gets 3 shots. A master who has used up all 3 command spells can no longer control a servant, and is as good as dead. Therefore, command spells must be handled with care until the very end, since they're as valuable as one's own life. It pains me to no end that I burned 1 right off the bat, but it wasn't a total waste, so I'll chalk it up as a win. After all, a servant could turn on its master at any time. If 1 command spell is what it takes to put a collar on him, then I'll consider it a fair trade. That's about it for the broader strokes of this business. Once 7 servants have been summoned, the Holy Grail War will begin. Tonight's sleep will be a fitful one. I don't know when the final master will appear, but they could be right around the corner. Okay, still is Rin. Is it morning already? I feel sluggish. My bleary gaze goes up to the window, only to see that it's bright outside. It's after 9. That doesn't even count as being tardy. A drowsy check of the clock, I make up my mind to skip school today. Body's heavy. Feels like that business mostly drained me. Sitting up in bed, I heave a long sigh. Not being a morning person isn't enough to explain why I feel so dull. I think Archer mentioned something about it. Master would be out of commission after summoning a servant. That's right. I summoned Archer, not Saber. I remember it all clearly now. I'd rather not, to be honest, but it's not as if denying these facts will let me do it over. It'll take a day or so to recover my power. I'll just treat today like a break-in period. I drag myself out of bed. A mental boxing match rages between the air outside, which is quite warm for winter, and the comfort of my bed sheets. It concludes in a 3-second knockout against the temptation of going back to sleep. I check my body in the mirror. Nothing out of place, aside for the loss of half of my usual magical energy. Not that it's a problem. I review the situation. I summon the servant Archer, who doesn't have an ounce of respect for his master. To make matters worse, he doesn't even know who he is. Wow, talk about a headache. Guess that means his trump card is off the table until his memories come back. Can't expect him to use a power he doesn't even remember. Servants are strong familiars all on their own, but what makes them truly formidable is the secret weapon they each possess. Frustratingly, Archer claims to have forgotten what his is. It's my fault he's in this state, so I'll just have to make it work. We're both in the same boat then. I can only pray that he'll sort out his memories, but who knows how long that might take. Good grief. I really got my work cut out for. Excuse me. Well, I might have to reevaluate my opinion of him. The parlor is completely back to normal. I thought he'd maybe just clear away the detritus, but the room's so spotless I can't help but be impressed. He must have felt bad for wrecking the place. I doubt he would have gone to the trouble otherwise. I guess I ought to commend him on being a more decent guy than I. Still taking your sweet time, I see. Need I remind you we're wasting daylight. I retract my statement. There isn't a remorseful bone in his body. Good morning. You seem to have made yourself right at home. I did spend the night, after all. No, I took the occasion to tidy up the kitchen. I expected it to be inadequate, but it's rather thoughtfully furnished. Quite well kept for a girl living alone in a mansion. I have a headache. Why do I have to put up with the servant judging my interior decoration? I thought servants all cared only about fighting. Are we sure their sky isn't effective? I see you aren't in your best condition. You were so feisty last night, but the fatigue must have caught up with you. I'll pour you some tea. I hope black is fine. Acting like he owns the place. Without missing a beat, Archer produces a teacup and fills it with expensive reddish tea he's been brewing. There's a lot I want to say right now, but oddly enough, I can't work up the indignation too. The way he does it all is so refined, I've got to admit he might be rather cultured. Fine, I am pretty exhausted, so I'll have some. I sit down on the chair. The teacup is placed soundlessly in front of me. I take a sip. Oh, it's delicious. I expected as much, since it's my favorite Chinese tea, a Spring Harvest Hongcha. I'd be upset if it didn't taste good. On that note, I'd normally be upset if someone used my favorite tea leaves without asking. Makes me mad, but the tea was brewed so exquisitely that the pleasure it brings overcomes my anger. Hey, what's so funny? Well, I was going to ask how you like it, but your face tells me enough. I set the teacup down with a forceful thud. Oh, what a waste. You should enjoy it while it's still hot. I can leave if I'm spoiling the mood. No need. Thanks for the tea. I didn't become a master to be a tea snob, and I didn't ask you to do that either. I see. I agree. I didn't make a contract with you to be your tea brewer. I'll show more restraint in the future if that's what you want. Yeah, you're only here to be a combat familiar. I've never heard of a servant that does household chores, nor do I particularly need one. What do you mean by particularly? Interpret that however you want. More importantly, do you remember who you are yet? Archer shakes his head in the negative. That doesn't bode well. If he can't remember after a single night, then his memories probably won't return easily. There are some measures I can try today, but... Alright, I'll think of some solutions for your memory issue. For now, get ready to head out, Archer. You probably don't know the lay of the land yet, do you? I'll give you a tour of the city. Get ready. There's no need for that, surely. If we're leaving, we should go right now. Do you plan to walk around town in that outfit? Anyone can see you aren't a normal person, and if another master spots you, they'll know you're a servant right away. I don't plan on announcing our presence to the world. So that's your concern. There's no problem. Well, I'd need to change clothes to blend in. That's only when I'm materialized. Servants are fundamentally spiritual beings. When we're out of combat, I can take an incorporeal state to reduce the burden on my master. Okay. That's what makes you heroic spirits. You need your master's magical energy to form a body, so if I cut that supply, we naturally return to spirit form. In this state, servants are more like guardian angels. They can only be observed by masters connected to a ley line. Of course, we're still capable of conversation or reconnaissance. Well, that's handy. That would make it really hard for other masters to locate you. Yes, but just as mages can sense other mages, servants can sense other servants. A servant who is skilled in magecraft may even be able to locate other servants from afar. Archer has it at 1. Masters are supposed to be capable mages, and the more magical energy the mage has, the better they are at detecting traces of magical energy. As far as I know, however, there isn't anyone else around with that degree of power. So what about you? Can you tell what other servants are? Master, have you forgotten which class I am? Do you expect a knight to be able to scry faraway enemies? He has a point. Archer's magical energy isn't on that level. It's likely that only magically powerful caster is capable of easily locating distant foes. Fine, then follow me, Archer. I'll show you the world you've been summoned to. I doubt it'll be particularly new to me. Moreover, Master, have you forgotten something important? Something important? My goodness, you really aren't that top of your game. We still haven't exchanged the most critical point of our contract. The most critical point. Is he demanding equivalent exchange? No, that can't be it. The chance to partake in a Holy Grail war is already reward enough for a servant. There really shouldn't be anything left to trade. Oh, you really aren't a morning person. Archer sounds exasperated. His oh-so-sardonic manner of speech finally gives me an idea. Come to think of it, he's never once called me by my name. Oh, crap. My name. Finally caught up, are we? I suppose it isn't too late. So, Master, what is your name? What shall I call you? Archer sounds sulky. Oh man, he really is a decent person. I'm sure of it now. After all, there's no tangible benefit to exchanging names. Servants are forcefully bound to their master by the command spells. While names are a key contracting point with regular familiar, there is no need for a master and a servant to be so intimate. But it's important to Archer. He's clearly trying to establish trust between comrades in arms, regardless of the command spells. I'm Rin Tosaka. You can call me whatever you want. I answer in a clipped tone, unwilling to let slip any admiration. He'll probably just call me something impersonal like Master or Hey You, which works out fine for me. Except... Archer chews on Rin Tosaka for a moment. Archer, get her out of your mouth! Then Rin. Yes, that sound of it. The sound of that suits you very well. He says something really forward. What's wrong, Rin? You look unwell. Shut up. We're leaving, Archer. This is no time to be sitting around. I turn on my heel and storm away, huffing. This is so infuriating. I'm not even sure why. Damn that Archer. Did he say that just to mess with me? I bet he did. Definitely sounds like something he'd do. Yeah, I'm sure that's it. Must be all part of his plan to get me all flustered. I'd better be careful. Gotta work with this wise guy from here on out. I take Archer outside. Fuyuki City, my hometown, is broadly divided into two halves. There's Miyama, which is left over from the village the city grew out of, and Shinto, the developing modern region across the river. My house is in Miyama, the old part. Miyama itself is split into two areas. The European-style neighborhoods originally inhabited by immigrants from abroad, and the old Japanese-style houses set against the mountainous backdrop. Both areas are situated on hilltops along the outskirts of town. The streets dividing the two residential areas is fairly normal by comparison. How normal, you ask? This normal. This is the crossroads of Miyama. One side lies on the ground going up the hill to the European neighborhoods where I live. Opposite it is the road to the Japanese houses, and between them is the path leading into Shinto, where my school and shopping areas are, as well as Ryudo Temple in the mountains. We come to the bridge connecting Shinto and Miyama. Years ago, a big train went right up into Shinto, bringing with it frenzied urbanization. They may belong to the same municipality, but Miyama and Shinto couldn't be more different. The bridge. The name Fuyuki, written in the kanji for winter tree, is supposedly inspired by the long winters here, which, by the by, are pretty long. Despite that, the temperatures are warm. February here is only about as cold as the start of winter elsewhere. I bet if you randomly start digging, you turn up a hot spring or two. Though, of course, our temperature our temperate weather disqualifies this town as a hot spring resort location. We've got an odd climate where the mild winters suddenly turn into springtime bloom come April. Magic. This is what Shinto looks like. A number of tall buildings that have been erected as if in a hurry, giving the hastily developed city a distinctly artificial feel. It all happened in the last decade or so, too. 10 years ago, there was a large fire that wiped out a residential area. Someone built a bunch of glass and metal buildings on the depopulated land. The Fuyuki Fire. And here is the center of it all. This is Shinto's Park. What are your thoughts now that we've been to all the key spots? I ask Archer, who's next to me. This is the site where the last Holy Grail War ended in a blaze of glory. Of course, he's invisible. It's a big park. Is there a reason why nobody's here? Feels that way, doesn't it? There's a story behind it, actually. I look out over the park. You'd think that a wide open space like this would have children playing in it, even on a weekday. But instead, there are only a handful of people. This place feels dull and lifeless. It was 10 years ago. Apparently there was a big fire that burned for an entire day and only went out once it rained. Although the town was rebuilt, this place stayed basically the same. The burnt meadow eventually got turned into a park. Archer says nothing, but I can tell he sensed something odd, even if I can't see him. Noticed, have you? That's right. This is where the last battle of the previous Holy Grail War was fought. It all ended here. I see, so that's why there are so many grudges here. You can tell. Servants are spirits first. Our very existence is similar to grudges or obsessions. That makes us sensitive to lingering emotions such as these. There were other areas around town that felt dense with such feeling, but this is on a different level. From our point of view, it's almost like a reality marvel. Tosaka mutters under her breath. Archer's infectionless voice mentions an unusual bit of magical jargon. In 8-bounded fields, mages call them reality marbles. Reality marbles are considered one of the apexes of magecraft. They're said to be infinitely close to true magic. For the last few centuries, bounded fields have served as mages' defensive barriers. To put it in simple terms, they're like a home security with real teeth. Bounded fields are conventionally erected on a piece of land or building to guard against outside threats. They are merely an alteration of an area that already exists. Reality marbles, however, are something else entirely. You can think of them as a space that consumes reality itself. When a mage materializes their imaginary world, a representation of their mind, and overwrites the real world with it, we call the resulting field a reality marble. It's a large area of magecraft that twists, rebuilds the world according to a mage's wishes. Rin, is something on your mind? No, I was just a little surprised. I didn't expect to hear the words reality marble from an archer. Is it so strange that I'd know it? Well, yeah, to mages, reality marbles are a taboo among taboos. Some of the most esoteric arts out there. It doesn't make sense that an archer would know what they are. I shoot a quizzical gaze in his general direction. In reply, I feel an incorporeal sigh. Wherein the word hero implies someone familiar with both martial and magical arts. You're free to assume that your archer only knows how to use a bow, but I hope you don't hold the same illusions about the other servants. Oof, that does make sense when he puts it like that. Okay, I get it. I didn't think of that through, and I'll be more careful next time. That good enough for you? Rin, let me be blunt. You are certainly talented, but that makes you tend to underestimate other people. You should break that habit before you become an adult. You really don't know when to stop, you know that? Break my habit? He's talking about me like an unruly racehorse. Forgive me. I didn't mean to suggest you're a horse, but it did feel like an appropriate choice of words. Hey, that's just as bad. How? My right hand suddenly flares with pain. Rin, quiet down for a second, Archer. The command spells on my right hand hurt. They're throbbing, almost like a dull alarm warning their owner. Someone's watching us. I scan my surroundings. I mentally weave a detection spell and cast it over the park. I can't find them. Any luck, Archer? Doesn't look like it. I can't even sense them spying on us. Which means it's a master. I don't know who it is, but if Archer can't tell, then it must be a master. We don't have all 7 yet, but the fighting could still start at any time. Maybe whoever's watching me is up for an early skirmish. Command spells react to other command spells. If we're dealing with a master, then you should be able to identify them if we come across them. Would they be able to do the same to you? Yeah, but advanced spellcasters can hide their energy signatures. Our command spells may react to each other, but it still takes magical energy to activate them. As long as the master keeps their magic circuits shut, it'll be hard to find them. That's troubling. Does that mean we're broadcasting our position? Pretty much. If I looked around at home, I'm sure I could dig up a way to mask my power, but you don't need to. Yep. I'll just come to us first, right? Saves us the trouble of looking. Archer doesn't respond. Maybe he's irritated with me. Well, are you going to tell me not to get cocky? I ask a little defensive, thinking of our earlier exchanges. Archer mentally brushes the question aside. You're at your best when you're like this. Yes, let the small fry come to us. I can feel the smirk in his tone. I'm not saying I like what he said, but it's enough of an olive branch, I suppose. We start walking around town again. I spend the day taking him to all the important places. I'd even drop by some less significant spots that might be useful to know. After dinner, I make for our final stop. It's now after 7 in the evening. This is a good chance to show him the best vantage point in the city. I do think after the prologue is done, I might call it, as long as it does not go for another 2 hours, or hour and a half even. The wind howls. We're atop the tallest building in Shinto. The commanding view of the city makes for a fitting end to our tour. Because my voice is already starting to hurt, but I have been speaking nearly consistently for 2 hours straight. So, pretty great view, isn't it, Archer? I feel sorry for any future boyfriends. You really know how to run a guy ragged. What did you just say, Archer? Just an honest thought. It is a good position, though. If you'd taken me here first, I would have spared you the effort of all that walking. What are you talking about? It's nice, sure, but you need to visit places to really get the lay of the land. This only gives you a bird's eye view of the city. Not as serious. Really? You think too little of the archer class. One can't be a good bowman without good eyes. Really? Can you see my house from here, then? Not quite that far. Just to the bridge or so. I can count the number of tiles there, at least. No way. The tiles on the bridge? I didn't expect his vision to be good as a telescope that I often see on the rooftops. Sharp eye doesn't begin to cut it. I'm surprised. You really are an archer. Rin, are you mocking me? Of course not. I just didn't take you for the bow and arrow type. My mistake. That's a misconception we'll have to address once we go home. Without Archer goes quiet for a while. He must like the landscape from up here. He's probably considering the layout of the city. I shouldn't interrupt him while he's thinking. I step away from Archer and approach the edge of the rooftop. All I can see from here are the lights below. Headlights flow from the streets, and I can make out people on the way home from work. I can't tell what kinds of cars they are, or who exactly is walking. I can see them, but not clearly. It's not unlike how I could tell someone was watching me earlier, even if I couldn't pinpoint them. At the very least, I know someone's made their base in Shinto. I squint down towards the ground. There are 7 masters in total. I don't know who they are, nor which servants are with them. At this point, every master is probably gathering intelligence on their rivals. Suddenly, I feel someone's eyes on me. There is no reaction from my command spells. I simply sense that someone is looking at me. Down there. I peer down. People are walking on the street, but one in particular is gazing up at me as if staring at the moon. I'm not sure exactly who that is. I can't say for certain, yet I know exactly who. I can't believe that guy. What's he doing out this late? Have you found an enemy, Rin? Arch calls out to me. Maybe he can make out my rising hostility. Not really. It's just someone I know. A normal person who has nothing to do with us. Unable to clamp it down, I irritably snap back at him and step away from the roof's edge. He couldn't have seen me from the ground. I'm sure it was just a coincidence. I haven't given myself away. And yet, my mage side is screaming at me for allowing an eyewitness to catch sight of me. By the time I get back to Miyama, it's 9 p.m. Unlike Shinto, Miyama is mostly residential. After 9, there isn't really anyone outside, and the streets are silent as if much later at night. That's it for the tour. Did you get a good look at the city? Yeah, I understood the layout. I'll pick up more details along the way. Then we're done for today. I'm still not feeling great, so I'm going home to rest. I start up the hill at a relaxed pace, when I notice someone up ahead. Is that Sakura? Uh-oh. Now would not be a good time to run into her. Rin, why are you hiding? Quiet. There's someone I know up ahead. I skipped school today, so I don't want her to see me. As I answer, I keep an eye on her. In the middle of the street, there's the first-year student I know. And Gil. And a foreigner I don't. They're talking. No, it looks more like he's trying to pick her up while she'd rather be anywhere else. Are you acquainted with the foreigner? No, I don't know who that is. There's a lot of European houses here, so maybe he's a tourist. Even as I finish the sentence, I'm mentally telling myself off for being so soft on that girl. Is he human? Who knows? I can tell he has a human body, so that makes him no servant at least. Yeah, he isn't a master either, so it's probably just some lover's tiff. Though even I know she's in the sort to get caught up in something like that. They're gone. The girl's going up the hill. The blonde-haired man descends via the street we came by. You can use this room. Any questions before I go to bed? None in particular. It was wise of you to avoid a premature battle. You should let your strength recover tonight. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Make me that tea again. I don't need a servant for household chores. Make me that tea again tomorrow. Once I'm back in my room, the fatigue washes over me. Yeah, I need to call Kirei first. That annoying priest left me a message. By now he's probably sent for the backup mage. It isn't my problem, but he is my legal guardian. I owe him a phone call, at least. Phone. I punch his number into the telephone. Before long, the fake priest picks up. Kirei, it's me. I contracted a servant yesterday, so you can register me as a master now. There's a brief pause. Kirei's silence is deafening. I can feel its weight, even through the earpiece. Understood. What will you do next? You should stop by. I have something for you from your parents. They asked me to pass it on to you only if you become a master before adulthood. Oh, are you talking about Father's will? I already decrypted that. I'll drop by the church if I feel like it. Bye. Wait, Rin. Now that you're a master... I hang up before he finishes. If I have to listen to Kirei's nagging while I'm this tired, I have a feeling my magical energy will drain away instead of recover. Alright, I should be ready. All that's left is sleep. Once I open my eyes, it will be a brand new day. 10 years ago, my father fought as a mage in the Holy Grail War and lost. Now it's my turn to risk it all for the same prize. Good gracious, that's a long... February 2nd. I don't know if we're done with the prologue yet or not. If we're still Rin, then I'm gonna say we aren't. But if we switch perspectives... Okay, we're still Rin. And after breakfast, I lay out my plans for the day. You're going to school. Yes. Do you have a problem with that, Archer? It's not a problem, but... Archer looks reluctant, but doesn't protest. After spending a whole day with me, he probably understands now that Rin Tosaka doesn't go back on her word once she makes up her mind. I can sense his disagreement, even if he doesn't voice it, but I've also learned that Archer has a sincere side beneath all the sarcasm. He won't whine about a decision he's accepted. Yep, he's loyal. And awkward. Like that. That's what my intuition says, at least after watching him yesterday. Rin, now that you're a master, you need to always be wary of enemy masters. If you're ambushed at school, it'll be difficult to protect you. Not necessarily. Listen here, Archer. I don't intend to alter my lifestyle just because of this. Besides, masters fight out of public view, don't they? I don't think anyone would try to sneak up on me in front of everyone at school. If that's your choice, then I'll follow along. But at least let me stand guard in spirit form. Surely you don't intend to go there without me. Of course not. You'll stay with me whenever I'm outside, not just at school. That's the servant's job, so I'm counting on you. I'm glad to hear it. A knight has a duty to repay his lord's trust. You won't be disappointed. Still, hypothetically speaking, what would you do if the enemy was in a place you thought safe? Are we supposing a master is at the school? Yes. Well, it's hard for anyone who isn't a student or a teacher to answer. It could spell trouble if a master is already infiltrated. I don't think that's likely. The Tosaka are the only functioning mage family left in this town. The other one's gone belly up, so they won't produce any masters. How do you know? Hey, if there's any other mage families in Fuyuki beside the Tosaka, you can bet I've looked into them already. He isn't a master. As the heir to that family, he can't wield the strength to become one. We can safely ignore them. I see, so there is another mage at your school, but they lack the magical energy to be a master. That's right, most of the other masters will be coming from outside. They won't be at my school. So you think, Rin. So you think. For now, perhaps. But there are exceptions to every rule, Rin. What will you do if you encounter an unknown mage at school? I'm telling you, it won't happen. Mages are sensitive to each other. I've spent a whole year at that campus, so I'd be able to sense any mage, no matter how hard they try to hide. I'm certain there are only 2 mages at the school. Me and the Proby without enough power to be a master. Get it now? You're just being paranoid. The scenario you're imagining won't happen. That's why I said hypothetical, but the unexpected has a way of happening. Sometimes destiny decides to make the impossible come out. If we find ourselves in situation, I hope you remember not to take it out on me. Archer chuckles dryly. His smug attitude already makes me want to do exactly that, but I'll be late for school if I let him keep pushing my buttons. Look, it won't happen, it's a what if because it will never happen in the first place, and if it does, it would just mean that I was too naive. I'll remember you said that. Let's get going then. It takes 30 minutes to get to your school, so you'd better leave soon if you want to be on time. I think as soon as it transitions away from Rin, or I get a actual notification that I'm done with the prologue, is when I'll call it. I'm legitimately shocked. It really did happen. I'm surprised that, well, it really does pay to be a pessimist. This is our exchange the moment we pass through the front gate. It's almost time for homeroom, so there are students on the way to class. All around us. Archer and I stand like a pillar amid the swirling human sea. The air isn't stagnant. Someone set up a bounded field, don't you think? It isn't finished, but yes, prep work is already underway. They must think they have a big shot to go about this so openly. We're an unbelievable amateur. Only a third-rate mage would make such a conspicuous field. Someone with actual skills would conceal it until it was time to strike. And how would you rate this mage? Who knows? I couldn't care less. More importantly, trying such shoddy work in my territory is just going to earn them a beating. I let out an indignant huff as I crossed through the grounds. As a mage, there's no sugarcoating it. I won't be satisfied until whoever made this bounded field gets what's coming to them. I believe this is the Blood for Andromeda bounded field. So it's Medusa. I'm on my way back from the music room after second period. I spot a first year floundering in the hallway. She looks like she could use a hand with the large stack of documents she's carrying. Let me help Sakura. Tosaka. Printouts. Our class is supposed to take care of world history. What is that Kazuki thinking, making you carry all these? Here, I'll take half. Thank you. You really can see the base for all the Sakura face servants in the original FSN Sakura, but they're also all so distinct. Like, Melt has a more angled face, Lip has a more rounded one, King Protea also has a more rounded face, I would say. BB, I would say, has a more angular face. And that's just the face, not even the hair. They also have more expressive eyes than Sakura. It's fine. Are we taking these to your classroom? And it might just be a reimagination of their faces for updated animation styles, I suppose, but even still. No, to Mr. Kuzuki. He said he needs to take them back because there's some typo. I can believe that. Kuzuki's got such a huge stick up his butt, he was suspended an entire exam over a single typo. You mean an exam here at this school? Yeah, it was during midterms last year. It was near the end when everyone's answer sheets were already filled. He just came out and said there's a typo, the questions are incorrect, the exam is suspended and we'll redo it tomorrow. The teachers were as surprised as we were and people still talk about it. That does sound like Mr. Kuzuki. He seems the kind of person who believes teachers shouldn't make any mistakes. But he goes overboard. You better learn while you can once Kuzuki's got his mind set on something. He's as hard to move as a mountain. You must like him. It's unusual to hear you talk about someone like that. Is it? I do wish he'd just relax. Though he's alright just the way he is, ultimately. The faculty at our school is made up of both really nice teachers and some really scary ones. It's a delicate balance that Mr. Kuzuki's an important part of. He's the stick to the carrot. You'll see more of him next year since he teaches ethics, which is kind of hilarious. Alright, Sakura, There's something I wanted to ask you. What is it? It's about yesterday. Were you talking to a foreigner? Ah, you saw that. I just happened to. What's going on? Is he someone you know? No, I don't really know who he was. It sounded like he was lost. He asked a lot of questions, but I couldn't understand what he was saying. Ah, and that's when she slipped away. I see. Sorry, I was just curious. No, I don't mind. Oh, it's just in here. I can get the rest now. Okay, see you later then. I return the printouts to Sakura, but before I head back to my classroom, I find myself stopping. How are you lately, Sakura? Ah, I'm okay. I'm doing well. I see. Let me know if Shinji's up to something. He doesn't know when to quit, so it'll just get worse if you keep quiet. You don't have to worry. He's been nice lately. There isn't much else to say. I can say to that. To a smile like that. We say our farewells again, and I leave my underclassmen acquaintance. Sister! The school day is over. The classroom's steadily empty, and the campus darkens by the hour. The crimson sun will set soon. Once night falls, there won't be anyone left around. Let's begin, Archer. First, we'll investigate the bounded field. Once we determine what type it is, we'll decide whether to erase it or leave it. I speak to my invisible partner. I feel him nod in acknowledgement. Bounded fields are meant to protect their casters. You can consider them a terrain-based magecraft formed by weaving magical energy into a net and applying it to the earth to affect the inside of a field. There are countless types of effects they can have, ranging from wards that isolate an area from the outside world to avoid detection, to fields that limit the type of magecraft that can be activated within. The most offensive types suppress biological functions inside the area of effect, and that's what's been applied to the school grounds. While it isn't finished, everyone in the school will collapse once it's activated. Something like that won't work on me, though. Bounded fields are, after all, targeted at the area I'm in, not me specifically. Such indirect magical interference won't affect a mage with magical energy flowing through her body. Similarly, the electrical charges that float in the atmosphere won't disturb the electric currents within my body. This means the bounded field has some other purpose. Whoever it is that put this thing here isn't trying to defeat a master with it. I don't want to believe it, but they're targeting all the people within the school. There's only one possible reason for that. It's a thought I can't stomach. After checking all around campus, I finish my search on the roof. It's thoroughly dark outside now. The school gates shut at 6 p.m., and it's now 8 p.m. Archer and I are the only ones left, and Archer's in his spirit form. That makes the 7th one. Looks like this is the origin point. Yep, that's blood for Andromeda. There are 8 symbols boldly drawn on the rooftop. They're purplish-red marks that only a mage can see. I've never seen or heard of sigils like these. Well, they've got me here. I don't know what to do about this. Whoever set up this bounded field did it recklessly. While impudent, the magical working itself is an order of magnitude beyond my own skills. I could temporarily erase the energy of the curse, but I have no way to dispel the bounded field itself. All the spellcaster needs to do is supply it with more energy to reactivate the curse's effects. Excuse me. Archer doesn't comment. He's probably remained that silent since encountering the rooftop sigils because he too has realized their nature. This bounded field does more than drain its victim's stamina. It would literally melt everyone inside once it's turned on. Excuse me. There are bounded fields which rob victims of their life force and spiritual energy, but the spell that's been applied to the school grounds is on a whole different level. There's no less than a soul eater, a blood fort, which melts the human bodies inside it and forcibly collects the souls that ooze out. Since antiquity, souls have always been difficult to handle. They are theorized to exist and are considered to be a necessary component to magecraft, but only one mage has ever proven their existence. Our definition of soul stops at that which remains within, that which examines within, and that which is transferred between vessels. To not only extract souls, but then capture them in one place, it defies comprehension. What's a mage supposed to do with a bunch of energy we can't even convert? So I had to think of a purpose for it. Archer, is that what you and your kind are? It comes out colder than I intended. You surmised correctly. I did say that we are fundamentally spiritual beings. That means we feed on second and third factors, the soul and the mind. Just as you sustain yourself with the flesh of creatures, we servants derive nutrition from the mind and soul. While said nutrition doesn't change our base abilities, acquiring more of it does make us more durable. It increases our reserve of magical energy, in other words. He's right. The way you make your servant stronger is to indiscriminately attack human beings. So your own master's magical energy isn't enough. It's sufficient, but it never hurts to have more. In war, some weaknesses can be compensated with material when one is lacking in fighting strength. It's a basic strategy for a master to take energy from the humans around them. In that sense, this bounded field is an efficient tactic. Archer's saying that I should murder people and take their power if I want to win. It's so simple. I've always known this to be true, and I know it's the path I'm supposed to walk. That really teased me off. Don't ever bring it up again, Archer. Staring at the sigils, I make my stance clear. Oddly, Archer sounds just as put off. I agree. I'd never do such a thing. His answer comes firm and resolute. Time to erase this, then. It won't do much good, but I can at least slow it down. I approach the sigil and extend my left hand. The magic crest engraved on my arm is like a grimoire passed down through the Tosaka line. A mental switch is flicked. I pass magical energy through the magic crest, load a verse of a bounded field erasure, take a deep breath, and activate it. Erase, surgical removal, verse 2. I then send a pulse of magical energy via my left hand. That should wash away the sigil for now. Wait, you're gonna erase it? What a waste. Suddenly, a third voice chimes in while I'm casting the spell. I whirl around. Cool. A man is perched atop the water tower, some 10 meters above, looking down on me. He's clad in a deep blue that blends into the night. His mouth is drawn into a grin, and he has a bestial air about him. The beast's gaze is sharp and clear. In this bizarre situation, the man in blue watches me as if he's greeting a friend he hasn't seen in a decade. Did you do this? Nah, it's a mage's job to play little tricks. We just fight whomever we're ordered to. Isn't that right, mate? His tone is lethal yet carefree. This man can see Archer. You're a servant. That I am, and if you know that, lass, you must be my enemy. My spine tenses. The man's voice is detached and nonchalant, but it's colder than anyone I've ever heard. So scary it's nauseating. What's this best move here? I don't know. But my brain is still working enough to tell me that I absolutely must not fight him. Oh, I'm impressed. Here I was thinking you don't know your heads from the tails, but you figured out what really counts. I blew that. Shouldn't have gone out of my way to taunt you. The man raises an arm. It appears in a flash. His once empty hand now holds a blood-red spear, a scarlet 2-meter-long weapon. My legs throw me at the side before I can think. There isn't time to even hesitate about jumping off the roof. With all my might, I make a mad dash for the fence, intending to barrel right through it. A cyclone lifts my hair into the air. It was by the skin of my teeth. In that instant, something slices through the space I was just in, tearing the fence apart with it. You got a nice pair of legs on you. A blue whirlwind pursues me. You know, jumping off of a roof is never a good move. You are literally a sitting duck unless you have some measure of flight. There's no way out. The fence is behind me and my flanks are cut off. I won't make it. Light mass, heavy pressure. I react swiftly. My magic crest surges like so I can wield a single count magecraft. The spell lightens mass and manipulates gravity. Light as a feather, my body bounds into the air. Rin, I know. I've got this. And I jump over the fence to plummet off the roof. You're such a target when you're in the air, though. Air resistance and gravity push and pull along my body. It's about 15 meters to the ground. 1.7 seconds away. Too slow. He's going to catch up to me. So about 4 stories up. Sight precept. The funeral returns to the earth. Archer, handle the landing. I let Archer absorb the shock of the landing and break into a dash as soon as we touched down. I couldn't stay on that rooftop. We needed a less cramped arena from which to maneuver freely. A battlefield without obstacles where Archer and I can truly shine. It takes me less than 7 seconds to escape from the roof to the schoolyard. A distance over 100 meters, crossed at a pace no normal person can manage, much less clearly see. And yet, you really do have good legs. I almost feel bad about having to kill you here. Against a servant, it's a wasted effort. At the same time I draw back, Archer materializes before me. It's a cloudy night. Archer's hand grips a short sword that faintly reflects the moonlight. Oh. The man's lips twist into an ominous sneer. Yeah, that's how this ought to be. Can't say I hate guys like you who are quick on the uptake. The whirlwind howls. It's the weapon he swung at me on the rooftop. A spear of blood like crimson that came mercilessly for my head. A lancer. That's me. That must make your servant a saber. Nah, he doesn't feel like one. Who the hell are you? Gone is his carefree ease from a moment ago. Archer stays silent, facing off against Lancer's unconcealed bloodlust. There's just under 5 meters between them. Lancer's weapon is nearly 2 meters long. It doesn't feel like this beast of a man is going to be deterred by a mere 3-meter difference. I can tell you're not the type to solve things man to man. That must make you Archer. Archer doesn't take the bait. An unusual clash of blue and red stare each other down. The two knights, somewhat similarly dressed, mutually calculate the other's demise. Alright, all that's left is throw down. Draw your bow, Archer. Not how I usually do this, but I'm polite enough to wait that long. Archer doesn't answer. His back as steely as his sword seems to convey that. He must not have anything to say to someone he must defeat. That's when I realize it. I'm such a fool. Archer was waiting for my word. I call out to him without getting any closer. Don't hold back. Show me everything you've got. Was that a laugh? The red knight surges forward, his lips curled in response. Wind swirls. A scarlet bullet flies forth, blade in hand. Fool. Blue spear thrust intercepts him. Now the charging archer is a gust of wind, and the spear tip that rises to meet him is a divine storm. Streaking blades, elegant parries. Archer's put on the defensive, fending off a swirl of thrusts with his short sword. The man in red is stopped in his tracks, his advance denied by the enemy. He can't even breach the 2-meter coverage of the spear. A polearm wielder can control his opponent's range. Lancer with his nearly 2-meter range simply needs to engage his foe whenever he comes within range. It's easier for him to stab an advancing opponent than it is for him to go after Archer himself. Despite this, Lancer closes the distance himself to press the attack, all the while keeping Archer. Lancer closes the distance himself to press the attack, all the while keeping Archer from advancing further. You're a damn fool of a bowman trying to challenge me in close combat. Lancer's snarl is fiery. With each thrust, Lancer closes in, the assault never letting up for a second. Moving in too close is suicide for a spear wielder. The advantage of a spear is the ability to control the enemy's position. Lancer shouldn't have a chance if he keeps closing in. No way. That's only according to conventional wisdom. Unerringly, unceasingly, Archer's spear seeks to pierce Lancer's spear seeks to pierce Archer's throat, shoulder, forehead, heart. The strikes are too swift to even leave after image. Archer is forced to parry, block, or evade every move of the spear. Any strike, if true, would be a mortal blow. Still, Archer is a servant, even if he specializes with a bow. He won't be brought down so easily by mundane attacks. The thrust at his forehead is quickly batted aside, and Archer renews his charge in spite of Lancer's spear. One might think that swordplay is all there is to Archer's attacks, but he's exploiting weakness of spear tactics. Against the spear's considerable reach, neither retreat nor evasion are viable long distance for long. A half-hearted withdrawal isn't enough to get out of range, while probing attacks will lead to evisceration. A reckless charge will similarly end in impalement at the edge of the spear's range. Archer and Lancer have more or less the same physical stature. Without heavy armor, it's difficult for Archer to penetrate the lethal storm of Lancer's attack radius. But Lancer's strikes are a different story. High-speed thrusts intended to pierce vital points are indeed terrifying, but each strike has a set trajectory and target. If one can predict these, then there are ways to avoid harm. Just as Archer is doing, one can block the strikes aimed at vital points or just barely evade their arcs to create safe openings. Lancer probably underestimated him as a range specialist. The advantage of long weapon is a generous range, which one can engage the opponent by giving that up. Lancer has assured his. The man in red stops in his tracks. I watch a nightmare unfold as if time is rewinded, Lancer's attack becoming faster than before. Archer's short sword is knocked aside as he twists to avoid being skewered. Lancer's spear doesn't allow retreat. Rather, his endless attacks are so fierce and sharp that even servants are doomed against them. We were the ones who underestimated our enemy. That servant, that lancer, and his spear can't be described in mundane martial terms. Who could possibly survive such a relentless barrage? Archer beats a desperate retreat while parrying strikes, creating slightly more distance between the fighters. In that moment, Lancer steps into the gap and unleashes an even more ferocious attack. The storm of attacks is a little different from what he's already been doing, but their execution is truly godlike. They've already clashed 10 times. No, it's actually several times more than that. The torrent of spear strikes increases again in intensity and number, threatening to take Archer's life 1,000 times over. It is even a change in speed, but in precision. At a steady pace, Lancer's spear continues to come down on Archer like a waterfall. How can Archer get inside his guard? With such a short weapon, all he can do is defend against the spear. He has no way to close in on Lancer. In fact, he's being forced backwards. The steel vacuum stretches out. I should be backing up Archer, but the right words die in my throat. Excuse me. My magecraft isn't easy to aim precisely. I risk hitting Archer too if he can't get far enough away from Lancer. Meanwhile, Lancer's advantage will only deepen. And, to be honest, I'm captivated by their duel. So this is a battle between servants. The Holy Grail War is a battle between familiars of the highest order. Heroic spirits, beings we mages can't even begin to approach. Servants. Familiars divide among 7 classes and roles, serving 7 masters. Supreme familiars called forth by the Holy Grail itself. Familiar is really a misnomer for them. Familiars are supposed to be subservient minions who act on behalf of a mage. Normally you'd imagine something like Puss in Boots. An elegant white bird. Or a disobedient black dog. Something like that. Puss in Boots must be a long-time fairy tale or something, because that is a reference I was not expecting. Those sorts of familiars are what a typical mage can manage command. Familiars are just that, from the Latin for a menial servant. It's inconceivable that a mascot used for menial labor would be stronger than its master. Servants are a different story. They're quite literally the most powerful examples of humanity. Even the 5 magicians wouldn't be able to control them. I doubt that. It's difficult for a servant. It's difficult to summon a servant, but not because servants are more powerful than mages. Servants are beings that surpass magecraft itself. To be clear, servants are heroes of the past. Myths, legends, fables, histories. We call the glorious superhumans from our traditions heroes, whether the tales are true or not. Immortalized by what humanity says about them, they cease to be merely human after death and ascend to something greater. People who work miracles, who save multitudes, who accomplish great feats are elevated to the status of heroes, either in life or after death. They become a type of elemental we call heroic spirits, guardians of the human race. It doesn't matter whether they were historical people or characters from mythology. Heroes are created by the thoughts of the people. We imagine them as the idols we wish they were and treat them as if they were real. Objective truth is irrelevant. Fame and faith are sufficient to give form to these legends. They're humanity's ultimate ideals, the greatest among us. That's what it means to be both a hero and a heroic spirit. Naturally, it's impossible for a mere human to control something greater than human. What mages usually do is borrow a portion of their power and imitate their feats. Summoning complete heroic spirit is impossible, yet the Holy Grail makes it possible. It allows us to summon these spirits in the flesh and even bind them to our command. The sheer absurdity of it proves the Grail's omnipotence. That's how heroic spirits are summoned from across time, whether from the age of gods or as recent as a century ago. The 7 heroic spirits serve and protect their 7 masters, and each master sends their servants out to defeat enemy masters. It's a death match between heroes of every age and every land. That's the story behind the ritual we call the Holy Grail War. Of course, there are limits to what the Grail can do. Even the Holy Grail can't indiscriminately summon mythic beings akin to elementals. Just as forms created by the people required to materialize the 6th theoretical factor known as demons, heroic spirits need a material form to operate in this world. This is their temporary label, and the way they're allowed to exist in this world. The Holy Grail provides vessels that heroic spirits can easily materialize in, called classes, and only heroic spirits that fit these classes can be summoned. A class is like a passport that lets the heroic spirit visit the modern era to act as a familiar. It is a material vessel that they temporarily possess. There are 7 masters and 7 heroic spirits to serve them. Each is assigned one of the 7 classes. Saber, the Knight of the Sword. Lancer, the Knight of the Spear. Archer, the Knight of the Bow. Rider, the Cavalier. Caster, the Mage. Assassin, the Silent Killer. Berserker, the Mad Warrior. Only heroic spirits with attributes corresponding to the 7 classes can be summoned to the modern world, and they become servants whom the masters command. That's the servant system. Humans summon and make contracts with heroic spirits beyond our ability to handle, all in hopes of winning a miracle beyond our ken. It's the greatest of battles that can only happen here in this land, like no other Holy Grail war. Good summary for things I already knew. But then again, I've been playing Fate for a long time. The duel reaches an even higher pitch. A short sword goes flying from Archer's hand after blocking one of Lancer's strikes. Lancer's skill is consummate. A seemingly straight thrust suddenly whipped into a disarming arc at Archer's wrists. It was an attack that Archer couldn't have avoided, even if he had saw it coming. There isn't an effective way to parry a spear with his sword. A forceful block is countered with an even keener strike, while defending with minimal force will never create an opening to exploit. The clash between sword and spear is shaping up to an intense struggle to defeat an enemy outside of Archer's reach. You fool. There's no hesitation in Lancer, even as he taunts Archer. He pauses from the constant pressure he put on Archer. Does he intend to settle their duel in an instant? Lancer takes a firmly rooted stance, trading in a fiery glare, with a now unarmed Archer. It happens in an instant. In the span of a breath, Lancer looses a flurry of blows that's no less than a flash of light, imperceptible. Forehead, neck, and heart. The spear moves to skewer all 3. And yet, more blades. Another flash of light counters the first light, and I couldn't even follow. Archer's hand grasps the short sword once more. Like the weapon he used earlier, it's a Chinese sword not too dissimilar from a cleaver. But the greatest difference between them is Kansho and Bakuya. A dual wielder, eh? Blade and blade. In each hand he grips a sword, each clearly meant to complement the other. Playing swordsmen, are we? Lancer's spear sings through the air. It becomes even faster, as if to herald Archer's certain death. The duel becomes a symphony of clashing blades. 2 steel instruments play a resounding chorus, the sparks of their conflict rising to a never-ending crescendo. The battle is like a vacuum. It sucks in all air around it, making me feel like I'll be cut if I even dare approach. It all happened in an instant, really, but as I watched with bated breath, the moment seemed to stretch on. Lancer keeps his foe out of his fatal pocket, while Archer attempts to close the gap with his shield of dual swords. They've clashed over 100 times already, Archer losing a weapon each time. See, the anime, I don't recall it showing this, but then again, this is the prologue, so it might... I don't know, it's hard to say. But instantly another sword appears in Archer's empty hand, and Lancer is slightly driven back each time. Like, I know that Unlimited Blade Works showed Rin summoning Archer, but I'm pretty certain Shiro was a very integral part, was like the main focus of the story. Lancer finally acknowledges his miscalculation. He has no idea who he's fighting, but it would be a mistake to keep dismissing his opponent as a bowman. Space opens up between them, and if memory serves, Shiro should be intervening in this soon. Lancer puts significant distance between them. Maybe he intends to start over. That agility isn't normal. Archer's charge defies human agility, but he's sluggish compared to next to Lancer. The swiftness of Lancer's retreat has the speed and grace of a leopard. 27. I've disarmed you 27 times and you still have more? Lancer sounds irritated. Actually, he sounds more confused than upset. I feel the same way. According to my father, servants typically only have one weapon. They're supposed to be singular relics of unimaginable power, not expendable items to be drawn over and over like Archer's doing. Servants are heroes whose spiritual rank are elevated to the magnitude of elementals or divine spirits after death. In a way, they're not unlike angels and demons. They're powerful familiars on their own, but their greatest strength is the mighty weapons that prove they're heroes. We call these magical items noble phantasms. They are the favored weapon or armor a servant used while it was a living hero, and it's literally the servant's secret weapon. To a servant, a noble phantasm is a one-of-a-kind armament. It's the servant's indispensable ultimate weapon as well. Same goes for Lancer's spear. It can exhibit its power as a noble phantasm Noble Phantasm if he chooses so. Noble Phantasm is a formidable weapon on its own, but its true power is expressed by invoking its true name. Heroes' weapons are known to have slain dragons and gods, to have conquered the earth. Servants activate Noble Phantasms with their own magical energy. Hey, Zahak, welcome to the stream. Thank you very much for the raid. I have no idea how far I am in on this, but my throat is starting to ache. I did see that you had streamed FSN. How did your stream go? It goes well for me. How did your stream of FSN go a couple days ago? Same, it's Stranger Voice. I'm pretty sure I'm still in the prologue here, and I have no idea how long this is. It's not unlike Magecraft, actually. Servants use their Noble Phantasms as catalysts to recreate the destruction from their legends. Noble Phantasm is most certainly not a disposable tool. It was fun, and you're still in the prologue. You're still in the prologue? Ah, you did Tsukihime today. Gotcha. Well, can you tell me roughly, am I past you in the prologue, or are you still behind me in the prologue? Ah, you're switching back and forth. That's fair. Gotta switch it up. I know I'm past you. Okay, so you will not know how much longer this prologue has for me. I've been at this for almost 2.5 hours at this point. It's crazy. But I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying it. You're at chapter 15 of Tsukihime? Or is there a chapter system in this that I have not realized? Which is very possible. You're at chapter 9 for there's a chapter system in this? I've just been reading. I didn't realize there was a chapter. He's an archer after all. His secret weapon must be some kind of bow. What's the matter, Lancer? It's not like you'd be so cautious. Where did all that fire go? Still in the prologue. Day system for this. Ah, okay. Gotcha. Sneaky bastard. Think he can beat me like that? The cause of Lancer's irritation is obvious. Lancer has been fighting as a spearman, while Archer has been fighting him off as a swordsman. Meaning that Archer hasn't revealed his cards yet. Yeah, I am enjoying this, for sure. It's, definitely fleshing some things out. Like, I can only vaguely... It's been years since I watched Unlimited Blade Works, to be fair. Okay. Oh, is there a specific, limitation for Tsukihime as far as you can stream? I don't know. Is there any limitations for the remaster? I should probably look into that. If there's any restrictions for the Fate Stay Night remaster as far as streaming goes. Okay. That's the new, that's the Summer Servant that was recently announced for JP, isn't it? Seal? Or however you pronounce that name? That must be the frustrating to deal with. Fine. Let me ask you this. Which land are you a hero from? I've never heard of a bowman who's also a dual-wielding swordsman. I'm trying to think. Is there any other heroic servant that follows that convention other than Amiya? Archer that also dual-wields swords. No, sadly not Orion. Orion's close. Ah, it's on PS4, Tsukihime. Gotcha. Tomoe, you got it. Yeah, thinking about it, Tomoe does have 2 swords, but she does have her bows remain NP, but Tomoe is an example of an archer that wields 2 swords. Cool. You need to brush up on your Japanese folklore. Yeah, Tomoe definitely needs to get her hubby. It's easy to tell who we are, though. They say only the swiftest heroes are chosen as lancers, but you're outstanding even among them. There can't be three spear wielders as fine as you in the world, and only one with such bestial agility. I mean, yeah, I guess. That is fair. Hang on. I want to analyze this line. There can't be 3 spear wielders as fine as you in the world, and only one has such bestial agility. So, Archer here, Emiya, is implying that there are only 3 Lancer-class servants that are as good at using spears as Kukulkan, and he's the fastest of them. I'm trying to think of other Lancers. Karna, I would say, is probably up there for 3 best spear wielders in the world. And is... Actually, I don't know what Karna's agility is, but he might be faster. He just might. Shisho is Q's teacher, so obviously she's going to be up there. And she's probably faster. Emiya, man, you're... I mean, I know I'm speaking on knowledge of the future from the franchise, but I do wonder how many other times I'm going to find things that have definitely been retconned as time goes. Definitely wonder how many times that's going to happen. Well said, Archer. For a moment, the bloodlust is so strong I forgot to breathe. Lancer's arms move. It's a deliberate stance without any of the nonchalance he's shown thus far. His spear tip dips as if to puncture the ground, but Lancer's eyes bore straight through Archer. Then will you taste my killer technique? I won't stop you. You're a foe we have to overcome, sooner or later. Lancer lowers his stance. Simultaneously, a thorny bitter cold overtakes the schoolyard. That's fair. Like, I've said it, like, an hour ago at this point, but when the prologue is done is probably when I'm going to be done. Or when Rin stops being the point of view. Whichever comes first. A definitive end to the prologue, or whenever we switch away from Rin's point of view. I don't mean metaphorically. It's literally ice cold. All the mana in the atmosphere freezes solid, but thank you again for the raid, by the way, Zahak. Thank you again for the raid. Only the warrior Lancer is allowed to breathe in this space. The spear in Lancer's hand is undoubtedly magical. Its true form eager to burst forth. Oh no. He's going to die. I don't know what kind of noble phantasm that is, but Archer's finished. It's the first time I've had this kind of premonition, and it's hard to believe. I don't doubt it for a second. If Lancer unleashes a spear, Archer will die. That's absolutely certain. As Lancer says, his spear means death. Archer will lose. Lancer will stab him through the heart and he'll die. Despite that, despite these premonitions, despite this insight, I can't even help Archer. I feel like if I so much as lift a finger, it'll signal the beginning of the end. If there's a way to prevent Archer's defeat, there can only be... Who goes there? The sudden appearance of a third party whom we've all overlooked. Lancer's ferocity disappears. I hear the sound of someone running away. From behind, I can clearly make out a school uniform. A student. Someone was still on campus, apparently, and it saved our lives. Archer answers coolly. Sure enough, the interruption did save our skin. I screwed up. I was so distracted by Lancer, I wasn't keeping an eye on our surroundings. Wait, what are you doing, Archer? Can't you tell? I'm resting because there's no one left to fight. That's not what I mean. What about Lancer? He went off to chase the witness, probably to get rid of them. For a moment, my thoughts grind to a halt. After the marcher, I'll catch up. My throat is dry. Archer pursues Lancer immediately. Damn it, I'm such a dummy. I curse my own negligence. It's a standard mage policy to eliminate witnesses. Until now, I've been careful not to allow anyone to see me as a mage to avoid that scenario. Why did it have to happen today of all days? The night feels oppressive, not letting even the moonlight through. I find Archer standing over the body of a student, collapsed on the floor of a terribly cold hallway. He looks wordlessly down at the student. An odor reaches my nose. A sight of slowly pooling blood makes me realize that it's the smell of death. Follow him, Lancer. Archer. Lancer should be running back to his master. If we can at least catch sight of their face, then tonight isn't a total loss. You know, just saying here, given what Emiya's later goal is, and I'm pretty sure it was confirmed that he is lying about having memory loss, why the heck did he not take this opportunity to make sure with 100% certainty that Shiro is dead? Archer goes off after Lancer, when the fallen student and I remain in the corridor. Excuse me. I can't look him in the eye. But I have to. This is my fault. This is my fault. This is my fault. Since I was young, since I made up my mind to inherit the Tosaka legacy, I've been prepared for this. Mages aren't governed by good or evil. I've known all along that this path would be a bloody one. A single thrust from Lancer's spear. If you got me in the heart, there's no saving you. I don't know how many seconds ago Lancer killed him. It's just a matter of whether he was unlucky enough to get stabbed through the heart. The blood loss isn't as bad as I would expect from a destroyed heart, so maybe the injury isn't too deep. It might not be too bad, but he's still screwed if his blood has been cut off to his brain. Though yeah, if his heart was wrecked, then he would have died instantly. Still not dead? You're really something. It's hard to hear, but just barely. My ears pick up faint breathing that might be a death rattle. But it won't last more than a few seconds. I don't have the power to save him. I don't even have a way to heal my own wounds. I have to look him in the eye, at least. I start to reach for the face of the prone figure when I realize my fingers won't move. They're shaking. But why? I'm used to this. I've made this choice countless times. I've lost so much thanks to my own mistakes, my own selfishness. That's why I've always been ready for this day to come. Then why am I so angry at myself? I'm sorry. I'll keep you company. You deserve that much. I use cold logic to still my trembling fingers and legs and check the fallen student's face. A great weight falls onto me. I feel like I've just been struck by a hammer. Don't do this to me. Why did it have to be you? I grind my teeth, no longer to brace myself against the shaking, but because I'm truly angry. Why did it have to be him? Why especially him? I'm not upset at Lancer for silencing witness as the servant should, but at school today of all days, at this hour? You fool, why would you of all people? Sakura's face comes to mind. I'm sure she'll cry, and I find myself recalling a day after school some years ago. The sky glowing a distant red, a boy that always ran, and a silly little girl who watched him absently from afar. That boy got involved in something he shouldn't have, and now his corpse is in front of me. There's still a way. If I fail, I might lose my trump card, but there's a way to save him. Oh no, I'll lose it whether this works or not, so the outcome is the same to me. This is a mistake. His impending death is a foregone conclusion. It's my fault for not paying enough attention to what was happening around me, and his fault for having the dumb luck to be here tonight. And Rin Tozak is about to show that she is a good person at heart. There's no need for me to go this far for him. My father, who left me with nothing to remember him by, did in fact leave me this heirloom to help me. It's a massive store of magical energy meant to be a trump card that helps me win this war. A precious, precious treasure just for... So what's stupid? I turn back and kneel by the dying boy. Well, that's that. The pendant in my hand gets lighter. My father's keepsake is nearly empty. With a clink, I drop it on the guy who was a second away from becoming a corpse. Nothing else I could have done. There really was no other way. I don't have the power or skill to bring someone back to life, especially not with someone with a destroyed heart, damaged blood vessels, and brain death mere seconds away. All I can do is patch up his missing parts with brute force. You're lucky to still be breathing. If you were totally dead, then there would have been no bringing you back with any amount of magical energy. But if he's still alive, then I just need to help him the best I can. I'd have really hated myself if I had failed, but it worked out, I guess. Yeah, I feel fulfilled. If I'm being honest, this wasn't such a bad experience. Though really, I'm lying to myself. I should go. I did what I came to do. Better get out of here before he wakes up. Yeah, there isn't any point hanging around. Archer's off tailing Lancer, so I should just go home. On the way home, I remember. I left my father's memento at school, though now it's just a pen with all of its magical energy wrung dry. Oh well, I don't suppose I need it anymore. It might have a little bit of energy left in it, but it's less than the 10 gemstones I'm carrying. What Father wanted was for me to have enough magical energy to win the Holy Grail War. Now that I've used that resource up, its container doesn't mean much. Except it's apparently a really good container of magical energy. I arrive at home without announcing my return and plop down on the sofa. Archer still isn't back yet. I heave a tired sigh and listen to the clock tick for a few minutes. I need to get my head in the game. After a battle like that, what am I even spacing out for? I jump to my feet and make some black tea. I have plenty to think about. The servant we encountered most of all. I finally watched a battle between servants which, until today, I'd only known about through books. Lancer, huh? I panicked when he seemed about to use his noble phantasm, but at least it would have let us learn who he is. Learning a servant's identity is key to defeating a servant. With the exception of the idiot who doesn't know his own name, a servant's greatest weakness is their identity. Once you learn a servant's name and identity, you can mostly deduce the heroic spirit's noble phantasm. It goes without saying that since servants are heroic spirits, they have legends associated with them. Unraveling their history can reveal a lot about their abilities. Masters address servants by their class names to hide their true names. The more famous a hero, the more likely their weapons and weaknesses are to be known. A heroic spirit who becomes a servant will never willingly divulge their identity. That knowledge is reserved only for their master. There's a tactic. I don't know that word pronunciation, and my mouth is too dry. One of those things. Understanding that a master conceals their own servant's identity while trying to figure out the identities of the other servants. Including this one, there have been 5 Holy Grail Wars this far. Each servant's quality depends on the caliber of the summoned heroic spirit. Naturally, a famous hero or one with a legendary weapon is powerful. Accordingly, it's difficult to summon such heroic spirits. For that, a summoner needs a connection to the heroic spirit they're summoning, such as a weapon the hero wielded during their lifetime. Even the Mages Association, with all its resources, only has a few such items in its possession. That's why most mages, myself included, summon a heroic spirit whom we have an affinity with. A servant's strength is determined by the caliber of the heroic spirit, or so the logic goes, but in reality it isn't clear-cut. Even a superior heroic spirit might struggle when the classes in play aren't favorable. Class-specific abilities can have a large impact on the outcome of a battle. Each of the 7 classes comes with additional abilities, and the interaction between classes can allow one to triumph over a stronger opponent. To continue the example, it's said that the great heroes are defeated by lesser-known heroes in each of the previous 4 wars. I'm trying to think of the logic. Okay, so let's think of the answer to that. We don't know much about 1, 2, or 3. In the 4th Holy Grail War, Archer was killed by Gilgamesh. So I think Gilgamesh and Alexander the Great. So I don't think that's an instance of a lesser-known hero defeating a great hero. Giles de Rais was defeated by Artoria, or King Arthur. Another case, lesser-known hero did not defeat a greater-known hero. Berserker was killed by Artoria Pendragon. Again, not the case of something happening. Ryder was killed by Gilgamesh, the King of Heroes, the Archer. Again, not a case of a lesser-known hero defeating a great hero. Lancer. Lancer could be argued, I guess. He was dueling King Arthur, but he was ultimately killed by his master's death. So I guess maybe Lancer, maybe Diarmuid did get the short end of the stick, and it could be argued he was killed by Kiritsugu, who is a lesser-known hero, to a degree. Okay, I'll give that. And Gilgamesh and Artoria never died. So, yeah. So there's only one fact about that. That is true. Saber fought until the very end in each of the last 4 wars. Okay, that's truth. Saber, Lancer, and Archer are said to have powerful magical resistance. Magecraft is ineffective against these 3 classes. After all, they're warriors from ages of myth and legend when magic was still prevalent. Spells cast by matter mages would probably fizzle out on contact. That's why the first 3 classes are generally considered the most desirable. The other classes to watch out for is Berserker. Heroic spirits summoned in this class lose their sanity. As the name suggests, they become crazed warriors and puppets of masters, but are strengthened beyond the powers they had in life. It's also worth noting that the stronger a servant is, the greater it's a burden on the master. In the past, masters who drew Berserker couldn't control their servants and ultimately self-destructed due to running out of magical energy. Yeah, I guess that did happen. Last war. No exceptions. In the vast majority of cases, Holy Grail Wars are won by the summoned servant's abilities. Of course, there are plenty of ways for masters to win battles, but it basically comes down to fighting between servants. That's why a master needs to commit the utmost diligence and effort in summoning a servant. Discontented, I decided to come up with projections for the battle to come. Before long, it's 11 p.m. Yes, I fixed the clocks already. Arch comes home. Welcome back. How did it go? Sorry, I failed. His master must be a cautious one. I was at least able to tell that Lancer's master isn't on this side of the city. Figures. Lancer was all alone and his master didn't seem like the type to show themselves. I see. Well, we knew it wouldn't be that easy. Everything can't go according to plan. So there's no use worrying over it. I'll just give up and treat tonight as a learning experience. You seem dispirited, Master. What happened to all that combativeness? Don't tell me you cowed after a single skirmish. If you ordered it, I can go right back out. I can go back out right now and re-engage Lancer. Archer doesn't say it, but I can tell he's thinking that's the right course of action. Oh, must look pretty depressed right now, huh? That's not it at all. I'm not going back out there because I don't want to waste the effort. Waste what effort? The Masters aren't all accounted for yet. Tonight's fight was unavoidable, but we're not supposed to fight until the signal to start the war. Father told me that's a rule of the Holy Grail War. I see. So your father was a master, too. Archer nods in understanding. Actually, he's making a rather mixed expression. What, you got something to say to me? Yes, I forgot to ask you something. Ren, you've been raised from a young age to be a master and followed that lifestyle accordingly, yes? That means you were always expected to become a master. Of course I did. Some mages are appointed as masters, but it doesn't work like that for me. I'm a Tosaka. Winning the Holy Grail War has been our goal for generations. That makes sense, so you already had an objective in mind. That's what I wanted to ask you about. I need to know what my masters wish before I offer my sword in service. So Rin, what is your wish? My wish? I don't really have one. What? Archer's making a funny face. That can't be true. The Holy Grail can grant any wish. Mages only become masters to obtain the Holy Grail. So what do you mean you don't have a wish? Archer drops all pretense. Ah, right. Once the Holy Grail is won, the victorious master's wish has nothing to do with the servant. But that's weird. Father mentioned that servants have their own wishes too. But that's their own business. It shouldn't matter, Archer, whether or not I have a wish. Fine. Since you don't have a specific wish, what about a general one, like conquering the world, for example? Why? The world already belongs to me. You know, Archer, the world is just the set of values that revolves around yourself. I've had that ever since I was born. I don't need to take over something that's always been inherently mine. Archer looks at me with a strange expression. Man, he's stubborn. I don't believe you. The Holy Grail has the power to grant wishes. You can obtain anything you want in the material world. How can you not desire anything at all? World domination sounds like a pain, and I wouldn't know what to do with it. Not everyone looks at things the way you do, you know. I'm having trouble understanding this. What do you fight for? If there's a fight to be had, I just want in. Archer, I'll take whatever I find along the way. I don't really know how the Holy Grail works, but if I find that there's something I want, I can just use it on that. Not all people live to acquire things, you know. Meaning, that's right, I'm just fighting to win. Archer sighs and shrugs. Maybe he's fed up with me, but he finally relaxes. I give up. You truly are fit to be my master. I don't know how to respond to comments like that, so I wish you'd stop making them. Servants may not have a right to choose their masters, but what makes you think I'm worthy of you? Do I need to spell it out? It's because you are, without a doubt, the strongest master. I don't need any other reason than that. Well, thanks. That doesn't sound like flattery coming from you. I turn away to hide my embarrassment. Archer usually acts like a smartass, so their sincerity is blindsiding me. Admittedly, I'm happy he feels this way. I've come to trust him, and he's come to trust me. I don't think this mutual sentiment is a bad thing. I suppose we should take a breather, then. The seventh master has yet to appear, but it might not happen right... Wait, Ren, what happened to your jewelry? My jewelry? I mean the pendant? I forgot it back there. It doesn't have any power anymore, so I don't really need it, do I? Suppose not, if you say so. Yeah, it's a keepsake from Father, but it's hardly the only memory I have of him. Don't say that. You don't always have to act so strong, Ren. As he nags me, Archer holds out the pendant I left at school. Ah, it's intent. Oh, you picked it up for me. Don't lose it again. It really belongs with you, Ren. So I think at this point, Emiya does know who he is. Archer avoids eye contact as he passes the pendant to me, looking almost bashful. Okay, thanks. I accept it. To be honest, I'm not sure whether to be embarrassed or play it off right now. The pendant is as I left it, as I thought it really doesn't have any energy left. It's just an expensive jewel now that's empty. Ah, okay, and this does answer how Shiro is able to summon Saber. The last of the energy used inside the gem is used to summon Saber. That's my guess. And Archer just has it as something he's always kept. But to put it in Archer's terms, maybe it still has meaning as a memento of my father even without its power. I suppose I can laugh it off as a net win, since I spent my trump card to save someone's life. Wait a second. I jolt up in my seat. I wasn't thinking straight while I lamented what I lost, but as I pull myself together, it strikes me. He saw us. I ought to alter his memories. Meanwhile, Lancer prioritized eliminating witnesses over fighting us. Lancer's thinking should reflect that of his master, which means if a master who went out of their way to kill a witness finds out he survived, they won't let him live. I stand up from the sofa. It's already been 3 hours. I may not make it in time, but I can't let this happen, not after all the trouble I went through. I sprint through the night. Fortunately, I know where he lives. Not because I bothered to find out, but because someone I happen to know goes over to his place often. I've never been there personally. Good grief, you're really making this harder on yourself. Archer gripes unenthusiastically. It's going to be as much of a struggle to rescue the guy now as it was to save him earlier. It's midnight, the sky shrouded in clouds. I arrived at an old samurai estate. The building closest to the outskirts shows no signs of life. There aren't many neighboring houses, so it's unlikely anyone would come even if they noticed something was amiss. My breath mists white. The wind picks up. I must be pretty strong because the clouds are starting to move. I find myself trembling despite the temperate Fuyuki weather, and a chill runs down my spine. People call Fuyuki a warm place, but you can feel the winter chill from the hilltops. The air is bitingly cold. The chill presses in and makes it hard to hear. In the midst of this air that seems to be conquered by cold, I keenly sense the enemy. He is here. The Lancer from earlier. I bite my lip. Something's on the other side of the outer wall. Lancer must have already infiltrated the house, waiting for its witless owner to come home to his death. We'll just have to jump over. I'll think about what happens when it happens. Just as I'm about to order Archer to go in. A flash. From the house emerges a radiant white light bright as the sun. Its presence is all-consuming. The power radiating from Lancer is being washed away by a newcomer's even greater aura. An instantaneous explosion of energy, of ether, that gives spirit physical form. And the summoned being overpowers Lancer. No way. All I can do is whisper in awe. But the truth is staring me right in the face. Is it to prove the point? Lancer bounds over the wall, fleeing the compound. Hey, Archer. Is that one of your hypotheticals? Perhaps, but now all 7 of them are herein. Archer is calm. Meanwhile, my rational thought goes flying out the window. What happens next should have been obvious, but I'm not thinking straight. There's a strong gust of wind. The clouds cover the sky like an umbrella. Darkness shrouds the lightless outskirts of the town. A servant leaps over the wall and lands gracefully like an unworldly bird. Archer reacts. I fail to even twitch in response. That's my fault. The fight ends before even a second passes. 1 second might be a brief instant to me, but it's a massive opening to a servant. Bladed wind closes in on me. Archer. Archer lunges in front of me, while the servant cuts him deeply. It really was just an instant. Is Archer, who so gracefully fended off Lancer's brutal assault, going down in one hit? Vanish, Archer. I made it in time. Before the servant's next strike takes off Archer's head, I force him to retreat. Pain throbs in my right hand. Because of such an extreme order, it used up one of my command spells. Now I only have 1 left. This was for the best. It's worth losing a command spell or 2 to make sure Archer doesn't die. Without skipping a beat, the servant comes for me next. Don't underestimate me. I pull out the wind-imbued topaz and feed magical energy directly into it, without any extra steps. It's a cluster of wind spells that I've been feeding into day after day, and they're enough to blow away a house or 2 without leaving a trace. This is one of the 10 jewels I've been building up for the last 17 years without skipping a single day. Even if I can't beat this thing with it, it should be enough to slow. Or not. It didn't work at all. The moment it touches the servant, who ought to have been a tempest that would hew apart anything in its path, it disappears like a simple magical stage trick. What terrifying magic resistance. Are you telling me that a mage doesn't have enough magical energy to hurt this servant? Also protection of the winds. Oh no. My magecraft doesn't work and I've lost Archer's protection. I have no way to stop the servant. Even if I barely managed to dodge the first attack, I'm finished. I look up at the night sky. In it, I imagine a ruthless reaper coming for me, sprawled pitifully on the ground. Seba. What? The wind blows. Through a break in the clouds, the moon peeks out through the spiral-like sky. The moonlight highlights her elegant profile. So this is the face of the servant who drove off Lancer, took down my archer in one blow, and shrugged off my magecraft like it was nothing. That was an admirable display of magecraft, mage. The girl's voice rings clear like a bell, yet her voice is the stuff of nightmares at this moment. But this is the end for you, Master of Archer. The sword she thrusts at me seems to shine. I know that this is my dying moment. One glance is enough to figure that out. This is the card that I wished I drew to draw. A sword-wielding hero said to be the most powerful servant. I look up at the moon, prepared to die. There is no room to beg for my life, no time to escape. With my death, Rin Tosaka's Holy Grail War will have ended, on the third day. You'd think I'd go out hating my foe, feeling nothing but shame and regret. But I don't feel that way at all. Something's seriously wrong with me. I'm one moment away from certain death, and here I am entranced by my killer. Yeah, it's frustrating to be sure. There's nothing I can do now. The strongest servant is going to kill me. She looks all at once heartless, utterly noble, and so very beautiful. And... oh, that's the prologue! Fate Stay Night Remastered. That is the prologue done, I think. This is probably all copyrighted material right now. So I'm going to have to cut this from the... when I post this on YouTube. I'm pretty sure these are all scenes from the animes as well. The animation quality is just too high. And I'm pretty sure I've seen some of these scenes like in anime openings. But yeah, this is... yeah, this is definitely stuff from the anime openings. But it's nice to watch. It's a shame this will not be able to be streamed. Or this will be able to be shown, rather. I have to cut this part from when I re-upload to YouTube. Why was Gil rocking a fur coat there? Prologue complete. We're at the freaking main menu now. Oh, that's great. That's great. We finally reached the main menu. Oh. Oh, that's fantastic. Almost 3 hours for a prologue, and we only just reached the main menu. Oh, my throat is killing me. It's hilarious, but it's so good. What? No, don't play that again. So what is pressing any button gonna do? I need to know. Okay. I'm at the proper main menu now. A 3-hour prologue to get to the main menu. Oh, it's so funny. It's so funny. Show me the config. I need to see things. I need to see. Okay, what are the things? Text display screen, volume mix, autosave, display language, control settings, full screen, resolution. I can't seem to mess with that. Advanced settings. So display speed for unread text, for read text. Oh wait, there I am. So text window opacity. I think it's fine. Text fast forward, read text only, skip previously read scenes on, tint previously read text, text fade in, text fade out. Okay. So all this is fine. Oh wait, we're in the text settings. Sound settings, it doesn't say everybody here. Interesting. It only says the names of the people that you've been introduced to. Okay. That's smart. Okay, that's pretty smart of them. Alright. Save data settings. Autosave, every scene, jumpstart. Be the what flow charts? So reset settings to default. Just because I don't know if I accidentally changed anything. Gallery. picture gallery, so Fate. So these must be all Fate scenes. Prologue is all of this. Other is just miscellaneous. Okay. Movie. There's the intro. Music. You can see all the various tracks here. I don't think I've unlocked all of them, though. Flowchart. Prologue. So the prologue, 4 elements, so that's when Rin summons. Then... Okay. Ending list. How many... There are 40 endings! Oh no! Oh no! This is going to take a long time, but I'm so here for it. Oh, well, I think that, I've reached the end of today's stream because my voice is about to die. So yeah, every Friday, going forwards here, will be Fate Stay Night Remastered. Even when other games come out, I think Friday is going to be FSN. Because this is going to be something I think is going to take a very, very long time. I'm probably not going to do a full 3-hour stream every time. Maybe, maybe not. It's going to depend on my voice, but that's where future me is concerned. For now, I've been Solar Dragon. I hope you've enjoyed this stream. If you have, leave me some feedback in whichever way you so see fit. If you're watching this on YouTube later, please be given some kind feedback in the form of a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to catch more. There will always be more to see. Once again, thank you all so much for coming out. I hope you enjoyed. Have a fantastic evening, everybody.